Hello, hello. How is everybody? Welcome, welcome. Um, Sweet. How's everybody doing today? Good. Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get some in the chat? Some emojis?
Pretty
How
good.
are people doing today? Good. Excellent. Love it. All right. Sweet. We are getting things rock and rolling. I am super excited. So, just out of curiosity, who's here today because they have an app idea or want to create an app, even if you don't know it yet, but you want to create consistent revenue and income for yourself with an app? Just let me know. Give me an emoji, drop it in the chat. Let me know where you're at. How are people doing? Yes, awesome. Tusharas, Tiffany, Melissa, good. Linda, awesome. Love it. Okay. Hopefully, some of you can start to find those emoji buttons down in the bottom of the Zoom because this is a workshop. It's not just like me talking at you. So if you guys are able to, I'll need, it'll be a little more interactive and it'll work better for you. I swear. Trust me on this one. All right. Excellent. Sweet. Awesome time. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna keep my things up here on the side. I'm just letting you guys know what's happening. I'm trying to get things set up so I can share it visibly for everybody so you guys will be able to see. All right, sweet. Awesome. So we have a mix of folks here today. I'm super excited. So the main idea is we want to go from idea to income. How to build your seven-figure app with AI. And why do I say seven figures? Because not everybody might even care about seven figures. But usually a good SaaS idea or app idea has legs. And usually you can see a pathway to earning seven figures for your particular idea. And if it's anything less than that and things go sideways, you don't have a business. You don't have the income you want, and you've just wasted your time. So we really want to focus on ideas that can hit seven figures or more. Because in the very beginning, early stages, it might not be at seven figures. It might only be six figures. But that's why we're going to start with our seven-figure app idea, right? We want to start there because as we're getting it launched, we want to be able to recoup our investment of time and energy and money because it does cost money to build this stuff, right? We want to recoup that as soon as possible. So that's why I'm coming at this from an angle of build your seven-figure app idea with AI. Even if you're like, gosh, seven figures is a pipe dream, we want to start there because we want to make sure that it's viable as quickly as possible. We want to minimize the time that you're building and not earning yet, right? Like that's what we're looking to do. Awesome sauce, folks. All right, cool. So, just out of curiosity, who has come? They have a rough idea of their app today. Who's got a rough app idea? Yeah, some people do. Good. Linda does. Awesome. Perfect. Eddie, Jacqueline, Melissa, wonderful. Super awesome. Excellent. Looking forward to it. So, wouldn't it be awesome to know if your app idea would be successful? Would you guys like to know if your app idea would be successful before you built it? Is anyone down with that? Would you guys like to know that? And he's like, yeah, right? So I've been studying this for a long time. So I think I know most of you here. So just for anyone I don't know, hi, I'm Dr. Emily, right? I am a seven-figure tech founder, and I was a professor of computer science for over 20 years. I also launched an innovation program. So I've been studying what goes into a successful business. And I've also been a seven-figure business owner for a couple of years now, right? So I've been I had my own business for about 4 or 5 years. So I've really been studying this. Like, what goes into making an app successful? What goes into making a business successful? Right? And it can happen really fast. My first business ever, I'd never even like worked in a business until I built my own. My first one, I took from zero to multiple seven figures in under 3 years. That was only possible because of tech. Now, I made a lot of rookie mistakes on the backside of that. So I've learned a lot of lessons, right? Battle scars, lessons learned. And so I can bring a little more perspective to this. So this is something I've never taught before in the context of my technical courses because it's marrying the business and the technical side of things. So I just wanted to, let you guys know that. All right, sweet. So that's why I'm here talking to you today, is because I have this background in tech. So I know how to use the tools. I've been creating custom AIs since before AI was a thing. Like it when I was getting my PhD in the 2000, early 2000s, I was customizing AI and machine learning techniques. So everything I'm sharing with you in this course, like and what we're talking about today, is stuff I've been doing for decades now, decades now. So I really want to fast track it for you today and get you set up for success. So let me go ahead and share the workbook. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a link. Here we go. And then you'll be able to reuse this later on down the line. All right, sweet. Do we want fun lights? I'm gonna while you guys are clicking on the link, I just dropped it in the chat. Does anyone have a favorite color? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Do we like, anyways, I like color. I like, okay, good. Oh, good. Oh, it didn't share it. Thank you guys. I had shared a different one. Okay, perfect. Anyone with the link? There we go. Try it now, folks. Perfect. This is why we test it. Yep, Lisa's down with the blue. All right, sweet. So just give me a thumbs up if you, okay, Melissa's got it. All right, awesome. First time running this. So sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. All right. So I'm going to screen share this so you guys can see it with me. Let me see what I can do here. All right. Can everybody see my screen now? Can you guys see my screen now? We're good? Okay. Awesome. Ty can see it. Wonderful. Let me get Amy in here. Wonderful. Okay, sweet. Awesome. If anybody happens, so some of the members coming are on our Discord community already. If you are and you see someone asking for the Zoom link, please share it because I'm obviously here. I can't share it. And hopefully everybody who's not in a Discord community also got in because I can't go over there and look. All right, awesome. So, what are we doing today? Right? We I want to get you set up for success. And I happen to know that a big part of success in business and creating, financial stability for you and your family is based on the idea that you pick. So I've never talked about this before. You guys are the first. So super excited to dive into this. I have a little bit of a theory about what makes businesses successful, and I'm going to share that with you today. Having gone up to seven figures and launched a lot of different products and seen what clicks and what doesn't. And also working with thousands of entrepreneurs and just being part of this community. So we're gonna hone in on your app idea. And the app idea might be different, right? Tiffany and Kenyon and Tushar and Melissa's ideas all might be different. What I can build and make successful is not going to be the same idea that's going to make you successful because we all bring a unique genius zone. We're all here for a unique and special purpose. So we're going to talk about that today because that is the secret sauce that goes into that seven-figure app idea to make it viable, to make it hit 5, 6, and 7 figures. So we want to start there because at the end of the day, whatever you build, you want it to grow and be successful, right? Like you wouldn't be spending this time if you didn't believe that. And so if you build the wrong thing, and it's kind of for nothing. So I actually built almost the right thing, but it wasn't quite the right thing. So that's where this is coming from. Like I took the time to build something, but then it went sideways on me, and I understand, and now I understand why. So I want to help you pick something that's aligned with who you are, so you don't. So it's not like bumper cars trying to figure this out and like crashing, but like it's just this nice, gentle, like gradual growth and scale. So that's what we're going to focus on first, your idea, right? We're also going to vet and validate whether your idea is worth building, right? We're going to do some back of the napkin calculations. It's going to be super easy, but this is the fun part for me. I love this part because I just love, um, yeah, I love the revenue part of things. I love the revenue side of things. So this is really fun for me. I hope it's fun for you as well. All right, this is where the money comes in. And it gets you really excited and motivated. It like, oh my gosh, I can make 35 million a year on this idea. Whoa, let's build it, right? How fast can I get it to market? And I'm gonna pull behind the curtain. I've been working on my own vibe coding app, which I'm happy to share with you. It's still in beta. It's not finished yet, but it's partway there. But I've been doing this for a couple months now. And because I have so much experience as a software engineer, I own a software company, right? We're starting to build software for governments. Like I've really invested in how to build software. And so what I did is I built this app without touching the code on purpose because I wanted to see, gosh, if you are just someone who doesn't know how to code but wants to build an app, what does that look like? Right? And then what advanced software engineering concepts would you need to do this right and successfully? Because there have been swings and misses. I don't know if you've seen on the news, but some people have actually, made poor choices and it's crashed and burned their app. They got like 1 million users in a month in 30 days, and then a month later was closed because they had a security problem, right? Like, so it is really important to actually use software engineering best practices. But the difference is you may or may not need all the low-level coding details anymore. You just need those bigger picture, like what are the best practices for how to build good software. So I'm going to share some of that with you today as much as I can. So if you have questions on that, please jot it down, right? And I'm happy to answer those later on. There's also another really important piece of this, and it's mindset, right? What's the difference between someone who has an idea and has it be successful and someone who has a similar idea that will work for them, but it's not successful? Just out of curiosity, has anyone ever seen two people do the same thing and it works for one and not for the other? Has anyone ever seen that? Right? Or have you guys ever seen anyone where it's just like, man, everything they do works? Have you seen that? Who's seen that where it's like, man, all the time, yeah, Adam has over and over again for some people. Yes, I know. It's almost frustrating, right? Okay, full disclosure here, guys. I was once one of those people where things were just charmed for me. I wanted to do something and it just happened. In fact, it happened so frequently that in college, people would like note it about me. My college roommate was like, oh, there's a lottery for getting a room on campus. Of course you're going to get it if you want it. Everything goes your way, Emily. I was like, really? Oh, that's kind of cool. Until it didn't. Eventually, as I graduated college and I like became an adult, things didn't go my way as easily. And so what is the difference in that? And the difference comes down to mindset. And it's why you can see the same person trying to do the same thing as someone else and it works for one and not for the other. And the common denominator there is how they're thinking about it. This has been me. This was also me. I took a course where there was like 40 people there. I mean, the course was like 25 grand. Like it was, it was this really expensive course. And only a couple of us even got results. And I've been that unicorn so many times, right? Because my mindset was locked in. And so that's what I want to give you today is not only an idea that's going to be successful for you specifically and not necessarily the rest of the world, and how to build it using AI tools, but also what are the mindset shifts you need to work on to actually get there? Because, and I'm speaking from experience here, it doesn't matter how brilliant your idea is. If you have resistance to the success that's on the other side of that idea, you will sabotage it every chance you get unconsciously. It's not intentional, but it's going to happen. So we want to make sure that you don't have that, right? We want to make sure there are no barriers to your success. And so that starts with how you're thinking about it. Okay. So let's take a second. And there's actually a really very specific reason for mindset. So mindset, I've known for a long time that mindset and energy determine success, right? It's really how the world works. But it's even the next level with AI because AI is actually a mindset mirror. What do I mean like that? Right? What do I mean by that? Who is on the other side of the AI prompt changes what the prompt gives you. AI is not a tool where it's you put this in, you get this out. That's like traditional code, very consistent. AI is different. And I've known it, right? I've seen it myself, and every senior software engineer that I've talked to has spoken the same way. That depending on who is showing up on the other side of that prompt changes what you get. It's not just the prompt itself, it's your consciousness level, your energy, how you're feeling. So, for instance, if I am after lunch and I'm tired and I'm like dribbling and I start querying or putting information to my AI, guess what? Garbage in, garbage out. I don't feel good. My AI is giving me garbage back. I'm fresh. I'm locked in. I've exercised. I feel on top of the world. I do one little tiny short prompt and this wonderful, you know, wonderful content or code comes out. So who you are showing up as has a direct impact on your success, which is the other reason why mindset is so absolutely critical when you're dealing with AI. And I've talked to other senior engineers. These are guys that have been coding for 20, 10, 20, 30 years. And they agreed. I was like, "Hey, do you guys notice a difference based on like your mental state when you like prompt the AI?" They're like, "Yeah." Like it's not a unique thing. So, A, mindset is important because you won't be successful without it. But B, even if you just maybe you don't want to make seven figures or six figures or five figures with whatever you're building, you just want to learn how to build it, right? Maybe you want to create a portfolio showpiece project. I'm here to tell you that your task of applying these skills to build something with AI is going to be so much faster and simpler if you are aligned and you show up right with your best self at the other side of the AI. It's going to be a total game changer. And it also means that your knowledge about what you're looking for and asking the AI to do matters, right? I think Linda said it in the chat, right? You can't be timid when you ask AI for something. Nope. Let me show you, right? Because AI, like the words you use when you're prompting AI will change based on your energy, right? We can accept that, right? Like learner mode is very tentative, right? I'm trying to build an app, but I don't know how. Can you maybe help me figure out where to start? I'm not very technical, right? So AI is going to like hold your hand, right? And guide you through it. And that's great if you want that, right? When you're ready for that, AI will give that to you. But a builder, right? This is the shift, right? Is from a learner to a builder, right? And builders learn as they go, right? So you can be in the same place you are, but show up as a builder versus showing up as a learner. Do you guys see the difference? That a builder is saying, hey, I'm building a decision making app. I need a simple database to store user decisions. What's the fastest stack for an MVP? I'm thinking Supabase Next.js, right? This is specific, it's actionable, it's concrete. It assumes like you know what you want, and the AI is just the hands for you, right? It's way more like owner energy, CEO energy, not quite manager energy, but it's way more like I know what I want. Like I have a vision and you are going to create it for me, right? Do you guys see the difference? Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne's digging it. I love it. Super awesome. Right? Because Suzanne's been coding and vibe coding for a long time. But the shift we want to get you to, especially because we have AI to be our hands for us, the mindset shift is going from I need an expert to I figure things out. And that's not to say that experts aren't valuable. They are, right? But it's shifting the ownership, right? It's the difference between I can't get there without an expert and I'm getting there. And if I need an expert, I'm going to pull them in. Do you guys see the difference in that energy? Right? Like the help me save me versus nah, I'm doing this. Okay, that expert might be on my path. Is that jiving with you guys? Is that making sense? Let me know. Give me thumbs up in the chat. Either way. Sure, Eddie's in. Okay, awesome. Love it. So the mantra here is I don't know this yet, but I'm figuring out. It's just a different place of ownership, of owning the result that you're going to have. Okay? All right, sweet. Any other questions on mindset? Right? I don't want to go like I can go all day on this. And in fact, if you're in the academy, I am going to be starting to do a very special Mindset Monday session called Program Your Life starting in February, where I just work on mindset stuff and how to like actually how to debug and program your life so it is the way you want it to be. So it's intentional and aligned. So I'm going to go deeper on that. If you're in the academy, you'll get access to that. If you're not in the academy, let me know. That's good. Ooh, Linda, what about fear? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, I'll touch on this one because we have a question for it. So what we would want to look at, Linda, is what is the fear of success? Is it the fear of generating generational money? Because I have worked through a lot of these, a lot of these, or like, for instance, one of the resistance areas I've been working on most recently in the past week or two is if you being successful threatens your loved ones and you don't want to cut relationship, you don't want to cut ties with your loved ones, learning to show up as yourself and supporting them through that transition, even as it makes others feel threatened. Um, yeah, that's a really good fear of having bitten off too much. Ooh, Linda, that's good. So that's like almost like fear of overwhelm, right? And so I think that's where the magic happens that we're going to talk about right now. So let's look at that directly, Linda. So, like, what if you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, my idea is too big, right? With every idea, there is going to be a seed that is small and doable in a reasonable amount of time. Now, what that reasonable looks like is going to be different for every person and every app idea. But that's actually part of this workshop that we're doing together today is first of all, which direction are we going to go, right? Like rough app idea, what should it look like? And then how do we peel back the minimum viable product? Or the way we talk about it now is usually MVE, minimum viable experience. Let me just live notes. Here we go, because we're doing it on the fly. Okay. So fear of um bitten off too much, right? So this is we want to focus on Genius Zone and MVP, MVE. And let me just like let me spell these out. Minimum viable product and minimum viable experience. So it used to be minimum viable product, right? What's the minimum you can create that solves the user's problem, right? Um, Timothy, SLC, can you just spell that? There's a lot of acronyms. If you can spell that out for me, that'd be wonderful. But we really want to focus on the minimum viable experience because we want users. So our goal is users that keep coming back. And I'm going to talk about this more in a little bit. They're going to keep coming back again and again and again, right? Oh, it's all exciting. I don't know if that's what you meant, Timothy. So slow learning curve. Okay, we'll let Timothy weigh in on that. Um, oh yes, simple, lovable, and complete. Yes, right. And you want it to be SLC. We actually follow this on our internship, so thank you. Simple, lovable, and complete. Right. So these are things that we want to focus on minimum viable experience. And that minimum viable experience will be simple, lovable, and complete, right? Like these things all work together. Because at the end of the day, we want a goal. Our goal is to have users that keep coming back. It's actually less important in the beginning phases to figure out how you're going to make money. I know we all want to pick an idea that will make money. So we're going to do that up front. But then when we're building the very, very initial piece, that minimum viable experience, our goal is to create a user base that keeps coming back for more. Because guess what? If you want to build recurring revenue, you want to see people that love your product so much they come back day after day. Not like, hey, mom, can you use my app? And she uses it once and says, that's cool. Great job, honey. No. We want people that are using it, that are embedding it in their lives. You can monetize that, right? Like it doesn't even matter if your app stays free forever. When you have people coming to what you've created over and over and over again, day after day, you can monetize that. You can teach a course, you can start charging revenue, you can start adding premium features that are upsells. Like you can monetize that. The hard part is creating something that people want repeatedly, right? That's what we need to create. That's what we need to focus on. All right. So, yeah, fail, first attempt in learning. I love it. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. All right. So that's really what we're working on. And so the fear of having done too much, right? Linda, the way we address that is on breaking our problem down. So any problem can be broken down into multiple levels. I have an example piece of software that we're building as part of our software company. It's an app that helps people connect with the 3D world a little bit. So we're building the app, but actually the minimum viable product is more like a Facebook group with a newsletter of ideas of where to go and do stuff in the 3D world, of building a group of users that are passionate, raving fans around the idea. And so that's the thing is that like what you pick out is going to have so many ways to implement it. I know we're going to focus on an app today, but the ideas that we're teaching, it doesn't matter, right? Like you could just have an idea, like I have a mission, I have a contribution I want to make. And yeah, an app might be the best way and it might be the easiest way to monetize, but there are other smaller pieces you can do. So like for instance, um today, so this week I thought I would be advertising this workshop on Facebook. I didn't. But I was like, oh, I will do that. I'll run the workshop. I'll advertise on Facebook. And I realized I'd bitten off way too much, right? Going to your point, Linda, about biting off too much. I was like, shoot. So I called an audible on the fly and I was like, okay, what do I actually need to do? And this is where mindset is so important because I can put a pathway in front of you, but you need to be able to call audibles, right? As your situation changes. And I was like, shoot, what do I need to do? And I just felt really guided to create this course. So back on Wednesday this week, I was like, no, it's not about filling the course. It's just about creating it. So I was like, okay. So I sat down, I created the workshop content earlier this week. And then I was like, shoot, do I need to create a new sales page? No, I technically have one. Okay, I'll use that. Right. Like it's like whenever you end up in this situation where you feel overwhelmed, like you've taken on too much, what I do, and I'm happy to share on this, what I do is I just take a moment, I stop, I pause, I ground myself, like I focus on like my feet on the floor. If I'm sitting, like the feel of the butt, like the cushion on my seat, right? Like, and I just take a minute, like what actually really needs to happen here, right? What's the minimum, right? Again, it's all about that minimum. Like, what is the minimum thing that has to happen here? And I was like, well, I don't actually need to run Facebook ads. I could just text everybody I know that I'm running this workshop this weekend, right? Like, and so like there's always a way, there's always a pathway, but it opens up from wherever you are, right? So it's like, okay, my goal is this mission. The way I've been taught to think about it that also works for me is that we get to pick the direction we're going in the world, right? So you get to pick your mission, what you're building, your genius zone, what your app is going to look like. But you can be a little bit flexible and fluid on the path you take to get there, right? I'm going to give you a path today, but I want you to have the confidence, right? I want you to have this builder mindset where it's like, well, this door is closed off. So that means there must be another pathway because running this workshop this weekend felt right. It felt like the right step for me. So it's like, okay, I got halfway through it and I'm not where I need to be. What needs to happen? Right. And then I wait and I listen and then I move forward. So like that would be how I'd specifically address that fear, Linda. It's just like there's more than one way to do it. There's always a way, right? There's always a way. Okay, excellent, wonderful. Okay, cool. Let's dive into Genius Zone. I'm gonna try and kind of keep things moving today, and I'll definitely and whatever questions you have, please ask them now. But I will also allow time for Q&A at the end. And I really want to help workshop your ideas if you're not sure about them, right? Okay. Oh dear. Something happened with okay, I'll fix this formatting later since this didn't go right. Okay, let me see if I can get this on the right. Okay, let me see. There we go. That's the right way. All right, cool. So, app ideas. If anyone has an app idea and they're willing to share it, I would love to see it in the chat. Like that's part of what we're trying to do today. But here's a way that you can assess, right? Is this the right app idea for you? Because, just like, for example, let's look at some really successful companies. Apple, Disney, Airbnb, Uber, right? I'm most familiar with Apple and Disney. So let's take Disney, for example. If he tried to build, a rental car company, would he have been successful? Was it his genius zone? His genius zone was like hospitality and helping people connect with their inner child. Like, something really basic like contract services for lawyers, right? Like, is that gonna be his genius zone? He's gonna thrive that business? Probably not. That's gonna be a heavy lift for him, right? Like, but he found his genius and he did incredible things with it that are so incredible they live on today. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I love studying Disney so well from the inside is because it is so successful that it survived him, right? Like that's the dream, right? So that's why it's so important to tap into your specific genius zone. This isn't something anyone else can give you. Only you can identify your genius zone, but you can use clues, right? You can use clues. Awesome. Yes. And if anybody is willing to like, again, willing to share just a couple words about like the topic and the area, I'd love it. Like it doesn't have to be too detailed, just high level, would be awesome. So in a world where AI lets anyone build almost anything, what should you build? Right? So the answer isn't in market research. Although we will use market research, we'd be idiots not to. But it that's not how you pick, right? How you pick is in who you are. We want to start from that. When you create a new business, right? The beginning is a little messy. Speaking from experience here. And it really helps if you have what's called a moat. You guys envision a castle with a moat around it, right? You want your initial business to have a moat around it because that gives you space to grow and play and expand and find your lane. And once you really own that mini castle in that moat, you can start branching out into other people's territory, but you need to find that place where you can own it, right? That niche, that very specific piece. So, like for instance, for the academy, I provided a guaranteed internship because I knew that was key to giving people the skills they wanted to become six-figure software developers. And I've been doing that for years. So when I created my academy, I knew I didn't have competition in that realm. People try to pretend and create it, but I knew everything that went into it. I knew I had a competitive advantage there, right? So I built that. Or for instance, another example, I'll show you that in a second. Let me walk you through the process and then I can tell you the example that I came up with for my app. Right? Oh, I love this artist accountability support group, a planning app for groups going out together, triathlon. This is awesome. I love it. And I can tell these are all really close to where you guys are at. So if you don't know who you are, right? If you don't know your genius zone yet, totally cool. So good. How do you identify it, right? Because at the end of the day, only you can identify this. Like we can help be mirrors and a sounding board, but we can't actually do it for you. Oh, I love these ideas. They're so good. So one of the clues you can use, I call this the three clues framework. One of the clues you can use is what do people often come to you for help with? Right? What do they come to you for help with? Do you have friends asking you to cook them dinner or to organize something? Or like, what is it that people come to you for, right? That's a clue, right? If people are coming to you organically, that's a clue. The second clue is what quality do you naturally embody? All of us embody concepts, right? Usually we're born embodying. I've heard three, I've heard one. I think you can pick up more from learning. I think it might actually be 4 to 12 or 4 to 8. But however many, like, however many qualities we embody, finding ones that you embody is really helpful. So it could be clarity, discernment, joy, organization, creativity, connection, healing, truth, courage, trust, right? Like we can be defined by by words that we embody. And you can't get this wrong because literally it's everywhere. Like for instance, I recently realized that I embody discernment, right? And once I had that aha, I saw it freaking everywhere. I was like, oh, that's why I always need two sources to learn from because I learn from the differences. I learn from the discernment between this idea and that idea. It's why I'm a good professor and I'm good at explaining things because I understand them at a certain level that allows discernment. It's never this or that. It's when, it's discernment. It's like literally, it was everywhere I looked in my life. I was like, haha, right? And only you can identify that. You can look for clues in other people, but only you can identify it. And I have helped others identify it. I won't call them out in case they're not into it. But yeah, Eddie knows you have joy. That's awesome. But like yeah, but thinking about you can have joy, but is it what you embody all the time? Like you can't help it. Like you can't like like I'm sure some of you can resonate with this. Like I can't help but share the truth, right? As discernment, I'm going to identify the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And I have definitely lost friends this way, right? And I share it. Over time, I can gain social discernment of when to share these things. But like when you are something, it's like you can't help it, right? You can't help it, right? That's awesome. And then also, here's another really good clue that can be helpful is what are you currently learning or overcoming? So if you're in the process of learning this, so for instance, I've been in the process of learning how do I make decisions that in my life that get me where I want to go, right? Like, how do I do that? And I started to come up with a framework around what do I look at? Like, not just my logical mind, not just experts, right? But also, how does it make me feel? What is showing up in my life? Are there any synchronicities showing up in the world around me when I think about these things I take action? And so that was something that I was dealing with and I was learning. And when you're learning something, we learn better when we teach to others. So if you can create an app around something you're learning, you're not a super beginner, right? You've got something to contribute to the world, but you've learned enough that you can share it, but you haven't learned so much that you're a master who forgot what it was like to be a beginner, right? That happened to me with coding a little bit because I had learned to code like 20 years before and I was like so far from, I remember the initial struggles, but I was very far from being in it, which is why I always set up learning communities so that there's a peer learning element because your peers are going to be much more closer to you as they're in the world in the present moment learning. And so that's a really great resource. So anyways, but whatever you're currently learning or the challenges you're overcoming or you've recently overcome, those are wonderful opportunities to share with others, right? Super, super awesome. Okay, cool. Does everybody have something around their genius zone? Anyone want to share it? And you guys can make a copy of this, right? And you can start to fill in. This is definitely a working workshop. All right, where are we? Where are we at? Super awesome. Okay, cool. Eddie's in. I love it. But yeah, if anyone is willing to share a genius zone or what they embody or what they're learning, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Awesome. But at least if you can put it on your Michelle is in. I love it. Ooh, Linda's a clear communicator. Excellent. That's good. And that's really needed, right? I think one of the challenges that we face in modern life is that sometimes when we communicate, we trigger other people. Not intentionally, but because we don't know, we don't necessarily have the full context of what's happening on the other side. I love this example. I use this example all the time. But I used to, one of my trigger words used to be please. Well, gosh, that's a hard one because people use that to be nice. But when I heard it, I would have a negative reaction because my mother would only use it if I wasn't doing something right. So when I heard please, I heard judgment. Wow. Well, that's a way to turn any kind person on the street into someone who triggers you, right? Like, oh my goodness. It doesn't trigger me anymore. I'm past that. But the idea is that we don't have the full context when we communicate. So that's wonderful, Linda. Michelle's genius is lighting software for industry. That's so software for the lighting industry. I love it. Eddie brings people up around me with joyous ways. Had an old friend from high school remind me recently not to shut down my light for others since she was aware that I was going through tough times. Yeah, I love it, Eddie. I resonate with that for sure. When I was in graduate school, they nicknamed me Happy Person because I was always happy. So I definitely think there's some alignment there. That sounds great. And so that might be something to focus on is like, how can your app bring joy? And that's just a good question, anyways, because when your app makes people feel good, they're going to want to come back again and again, right? So super awesome. I love those. That's great. Now, if anyone is feeling like they're not special, right? Like that's totally valid. If anyone is, please feel free to weigh in. Okay, awesome, Eddie. We'll get there. We'll get there. Super, super awesome. Okay, sweet. Um, so you might be thinking, I don't have a unique genius zone. I'm just normal, right? That can be your brain protecting you because if you admit you have a genius, you might have to use it, and that can be scary, right? So sometimes we have blinders on because there might be resistance to sharing our genius with the world. It could also, it's not just your brain protecting you, it could be a fear of being visible, of being seen, of getting out there. So for instance, I've struggled with judgment. I have a fear of judgment. And that's really hard because your ability to accept judgment from others is directly tied to your ability to hold on to money. Okay, I want to say that one again because it's so important. Your ability to receive judgment from others and not let it bother you is directly tied to your ability to hold on to money. Okay. Now, this one's really important because imagine if you're a people pleaser and you win the lottery. You're going to have a lot of people asking you for money, right? And if you don't say no, you just give it all away. Spoken as someone who gave away a lot of money and it wasn't the right wasn't in my interest to do so, right? Oh, I love it. Melissa, that's perfect. We should get that link in there. That's awesome. Melissa has a GPT to help people find their genius zone if anyone struggles to define theirs. I love it. We should get that in here. All right. So we want to make sure that we are so secure in our idea that it doesn't matter if the doubters are going to doubt, haters are going to hate. We want to make that's why it's so important to find your genius zone that you know. You're like, heck yes, I'm doing this. Because if it's anything less, the haters will win because they will always be there. Hopefully, you're surrounded by lovely people that are very supportive. But if you can't withstand people throwing shade, it's not going to get there, right? Because not everybody 100% is going to love it. Some people will feel threatened. Some people might not want to be happy deep down inside, right? And so they might throw shade at yours. Like it is. It is. Can I say that again? Okay, sure. I will say, and I don't remember why I was talking about this judgment thing, this judgment angle. But oh, I think it was, about your genius zone, right? And being special, right? But the idea is your ability to hold on to money is directly tied to your ability to withstand judgment from others. Because to hold on to money and keep it, you have to be able to hold that boundary and defend what you've created from people that just want it. Hey, can I have some money? Hey, I have a great course, right? Or I would be a great staff member. Or like there's a lot of reasons why that money might leave. Or like, hey, I'm your mom, can you buy me a house? Or like, hey, I helped you out, can you buy me a car? Or whatever it is, right? So we have to be able to withstand judgment of our idea and withstand judgment of how we choose to spend our money to be able to hold on to it. So judgment is directly tied to money, right? But it's your ability to have a thick skin and not let it bother you. That has been really hard for me, I have to admit. Like these are simple things, these mindset shifts are like super simple. They can happen like that, super fast, but they're not necessarily easy. Right? I'll be honest with you. Right? Yeah, exactly. Or yeah, right, you could be normalized to sadness and things like that. Absolutely. Oh, I love it. Okay. And Melissa, let me know if this is okay if I share this over here. I'll just put it in the live notes if that's cool. Find your genius zone GPT. Okay. We can always add it into the actual formal doc later, but let's just get it out there for everybody. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So, so good. Okay. So, what you're looking for. So, everyone has a genius, right? Sometimes we can't see what our natural genius is because it just comes so naturally to you. But let's find that together, okay? So let's take some notes down. I love the examples I've been seeing, and I'll share with you my example. So people come to me when they're stuck and can't decide. Okay, I've been doing this for a long time. I love giving advice. My goodness, I've been doing this forever. It feels like as a professor, I loved doing advising. I would advise on research projects. I would serve as advisor and recommenders, like for other researchers, for national funding. Like I was always giving advice, right? And I did find in my first successful business that people often came to me when they weren't sure, when they couldn't decide, right? And I also realized recently that throughout my life, I've embodied discernment. It's also why I can tell you what the most expensive product is in front of me even before I know the price. Right? Like it happens comically so often. I'll just be like, I like that one. Well, of course you do. It's the most expensive. And you don't have to tell me the price. I just know it. I just know it. So I can't help it. I embody discernment. It doesn't mean I'm always discerning, right? I can be the opposite. I can be the shadow of discernment, right? But it's something I'm always embodying. I'm either completely in discernment or completely out of it, like unconscious, not discerning, and judgment, right? Like it's a thing for me. So I'm always seeking truth, finding patterns, distinguishing signal from noise. It's who I am. I can't help it. So now that was a huge aha. Although discernment can be really cold, right, if you don't pair it with heart. So discernment is definitely a property of the mind, but not necessarily of the soul, right? So, and being a professor, being in academia, I like went all in on this one, right? Like I went all in on like the ascendancy of the mind here. So, one of the things I am learning to do as an intellectual, right, is I'm learning to trust my gut, not just my head. I spent years listening to my head and ignoring my gut, right? And now I'm learning how to make decisions from my inner knowing. So it's a combination. It's not just one or the other. I'm finding the balance. And so that's what I came to as my genius zone that I was picking for an app. And so how now we need to make this next leap from genius zone to app idea, right? Because your genius zone is someone else's problem solved. How many people ask for advice, right? How many people ask for advice on things? A lot of people, right? A lot of people ask for advice. So, okay. And in fact, I did this in my business. I would still do advising, but for career, like, hey, which way should I go for my six-figure career? Which way should I go for my business? I'm always serving as a coach, a mentor, a guide. Like it's just I can't help it. I help people decide things, right? So the problem I solve is people can't make decisions. They're overthinking or they need external validation on what they already know, right? So, my app idea concept was an app that helps overthinkers solve decision paralysis by organizing their thinking into logic, universe signs, and body wisdom, right? Like what's your gut telling you? What does your body feel like? And so the formula you want to use for your app, right? An app that helps somebody solve some problem by your unique approach, your unique genius zone. Okay. So if you came with an idea, try to write it out in this concept. Okay. Try to write it out in this concept. And if you didn't come with an idea, just take a stab at it, right? We just need a rough idea for the purpose of this workshop. You can go deeper, later on in your own time if you really want. Like I would go for a walk, right? I'd sleep on it, I'd journal about it. You don't have to decide it live, but at least pick something so you have something to think through and work on so we can do calculations on how much money you can make. That's the fun part, right? Anyways, as an entrepreneur, I always think that's the fun part. So take a moment and just draft your concept. All right, just take a moment and draft your concept. I'll give you like 2 minutes. If anyone wants to share it, I'd love to hear it. That'd be so good. Yeah, Eddie, if you could share in the chat, that'd be awesome. That'd be so good. I'd love it. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And then we'll get into the other fun part. Ooh, dinner and a movie. I love it. Super good. Super good. Nice. That's so good. Sweet. Okay, awesome. Folks want to do things. Okay, excellent. But yeah, if you guys have a second, you want to share it, we got about 1 more minute. Yep, just throw something down. An app that helps somebody solve some problem with your unique genius. And if you don't have it yet, it's okay. You can just fill something in, see what feels good for you, right? Nice, nice. So I'm going to take Eddie's example with dinner and a movie, right? So An app that helps weekenders solve where to go out by whatever your unique approach is, right? Michelle spent last night preparing to present mine. Oh, great, Michelle. Yeah, can you just type it in? I'd love that. I'd love to see it just in the chat. That's so good. So, so good. Excellent. Excellent. An app that, so Suzanne, an app that helps triathlons avoid overtraining and overwhelm. I love it. Super good. Super succinct, super clear. Love it. Yep, let's get there. Triathlete. Yeah, no worries. All good. Triathletes. Perfect. Oh, good. Tushar's weighing in. I love it. They're coming in. Coming in hot. All right, I'm gonna let these trickle in. Okay, I'm gonna let these trickle in on the side. Now, is anyone worried about not being technical enough? I think our audience is mostly technical, but if you're not, because this was an open workshop, right? So other people could have joined us that are less technical. If you're thinking, this sounds cool, but I'm not techie enough to build this, like even if you are technical and you've been learning to code, you don't actually have to be as technical as you needed to just a couple years ago, right? Because let me stop you right there. Like, what is technical, right? Technical isn't something that you are, it's something that you learn, right? And when you're a technical person, when you're a techie, right, you're always learning. Basically, being a software developer is about learning a process for problem solving. That's all it is. It's a process for problem solving, right? So with AI, you don't have to become a developer. You just need to become a builder who can tell AI what to do, right? And that's what we're going to talk about in the remainder of today is what does that look like, right? You to be a builder, you need to solve problems. Everyone does this on a daily basis, right? You need to ask good questions, which you've all been doing here in the workshop live, and you need to be able to persist when you're stuck, right? And I know you've done hard things before, you're here, right? The code AI writes for you. The important thing is that you can hold the vision of what you're building. That is your job. Only you can do that. And you have to own that task. It doesn't mean you have to be the hands, you don't have to do all the work. It doesn't mean you don't seek outside, expert support, but it means that you know what you're building. You are the holder of the vision. That's it. That's it. All right, we got a couple more app ideas. I love it. A town-based map, super awesome, Tushar. Melissa, an app that helps people who track multiple schedules or multiple projects optimize their time into systems. Ooh, I think we need this. I think we need this in TechJoy software. Michelle, custom software for show production. Pain points, long, confusing email threads, lost approvals, confusion because everyone can't talk to everyone. People get left out of the loop. Site surveys not done properly. It's always the designer's fault, so it protects the designers. It's so good. So you're creating an app for designers, I think, or for light production crews to solve the pain of organization by whatever your unique approach is, right? So Tushar, a town-based map, an app that helps. So it's a town, so an app. So Tushar, an app that helps restaurants and shops solve the problem of local attractions, or might help local people. So good. Ooh, I love it. Linda, how to get 5% back on investments no matter what the market does. And it's not a CD. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yep. Super, super awesome. Awesome. These are great. Awesome sauce, folks. Any questions about the Genius Zone piece? Anyone not sure what their Genius Zone would like some support on that? Let me know. Hannah, a produce comparison app, or maybe it's a product comparison app. It compares brands by quality, price, and popularity. No worries, Georgia. It's all good. And for anyone who's like, at the end, I will share with you an invitation to an 8-week course that I'm doing. Some people are already in it, and so if anyone's already in our 8-week course, you've got a couple days, right? Right? We I think you could have probably up to a week to kind of marinate on this. I'd love to help you move forward faster, but you don't have to necessarily decide right now, but you do want to decide relatively quickly, right? It's awesome. Yeah, Eddie, it's I'll talk about it later at the end, but basically we're figuring out the idea right now. I'm going to walk you through the process. And then for those of you that are ready to go build this thing, I'm going to tell you about an 8-week course we're doing live with community and support and all the things. So I already have some students that are enrolled. And so I'll walk you through what that looks like, right? Right now, our focus now is like, okay, what do you need to be doing? What needs to happen to build this? And then if you want expert guided support in that process as questions come up, I'll walk you through that at the end. Okay. Awesome. Super, super awesome. Jacqueline, price comparison app for your local shopping area. Nice. You can get the best price. Yes. Oh, that's brilliant, Jacqueline. You could like, yes. And what I love about some of these ideas, are you guys noticing? Like, some of these ideas are like, man, I wish I had that app. And that's often how things get built because you want them. I don't want to step too much on the toes of what's coming in section 3, but we are going to validate these ideas. Okay. Quickly, without necessarily going to the market. Like AI makes this faster too. All right, awesome. I love it. So, so good. Okay, sweet. Well, and Anna and Jacqueline, you're both in tech innovators. So it could be that you individually pursue these vibe coded apps and then team up and bring the best together. We'll see. It should be fun. I can't wait. All right, awesome. So, what many I know are here for is how to actually use AI to build your app, right? But I wanted to make sure we talked about the most important things to making your app a viable business venture. And that is mindset, right? That is finding your genius zone and creating an app concept or a SaaS concept, Eddie, that like lives within your genius zone, that feels in alignment with who you are. Because some random person on the street is going to be a lot harder for them to come in and like sideswipe your idea. It's not impossible, but it's going to be harder because you have your genius and you have a unique perspective. And when you tap into your specific genius, it's going to make you so much more successful because it's going to take someone else longer because it's your genius zone. So, like for you, this is just like great, done, right? Super awesome. All right, cool. So, how do we vibe code like a pro? Okay. And I can bring up some of my vibe coding windows if we need to. Happy to demo. So, vibe coding isn't just asking AI to build your app. It's like telling AI to build your app, but there's some pieces that go into it, right? Because I wish I could just write one prompt and have an app be created. I have had that experience for very simple apps, but it's not like if you have something that has any kind of significant, complexity to it, like any kind of like data to it, you're probably not going to get away with a one prompt app, right? So it's a process. And so what I'd like to do today is to share the framework I use to build apps that actually work, not demos that break when you touch them. Okay. So, and back to Linda's point of what if you feel overwhelmed by what you've taken on, right? Focus on the core function first. We need to focus on the core function first. Okay. Not everything all at once, right? You might have this brilliant vision, but the question is it all needed now, right? First, we need to figure out what's the one thing the app has to do. Like the app, you couldn't even share it without this. So for instance, as an example, I'm creating an app called Decide. If the user is not getting advice or a view of their decision information to help them make a decision, I might as well shut up and go home, right? Like it has to provide guidance. It has to provide guidance. So that is critical. But it doesn't necessarily have to have light and dark modes in the UI. That's on my to-do list, right? But that is not critical core functionality. So part of being a good software developer, whether you're using AI or working with developers, is about prioritizing, right? And it's choosing what the priorities are. So in my case, I use this idea of love, LUV, logic, universe, and vibe. That's how I organize my output for Decide. Users need to be able to give me information, a prompt about their decision, and then see how their decision, so like it gives them a view of how their decision breaks down, right? It's not users need the login, the profile, the dashboard, the analytics, or the sharing, or like light and dark mode, right? Say light and dark mode, right? This is going to be too much at once, and I'm going to get overwhelmed trying to build it, right? And it might not be needed. The best practice in software development is to let your users guide your next step. Like, you just have to have the killer idea and like tease them with it, like show them the potential. And then your users are going to help you figure everything else out from there, right? But we have to get that core functionality down. Like, for instance, Orville Redenbacher, he like found this perfect seed popcorn. I think it took him like decades of research to get that. And then once he had that one key thing locked in and awesome, whew, he created a whole business around it. But until you have that one killer thing, so for like Airbnb, you have to be able to rent something. Uber, you have to be able to call an Uber, right? So whatever the key minimum viable experience for your user is, you must have that dialed in. Everything else is just window dressings, right? But like if you want to buy a house, it might not be perfect. It might not have curtains or carpet, but it provides like what you're needing, what the basics you're needing. Okay. So your turn now is what's the one core function that your app must have, right? What's the core function that your app must have? So I'll give everybody a sec and then I'll read from the chat a little bit. Hmm. Okay, I'm laughing because Suzanne shared this one is hard for me. How do you code intuition? And that's exactly why your genius zone is so key, but how it can be difficult sometimes to articulate it, right? Um, yeah. And this is how you refine your intuition, right? Because you can totally be super, you can have a genius zone and be super competent, but be unconscious of it, right? And this process, that's why this will help you teach others more effectively because you will, in articulating your app, you are going to be defining your own, you're going to be honing your own understanding, right? Eddie's suggesting a micro SAS that adjusts sentences grammatically when recognizing Spanish punctuation. So adding a backwards question mark to the beginning of a question, this stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Collecting data from multiple sources and creating menu of activities. Must have interaction buttons, Tammy. That's awesome. Love it. Right? So, you want to focus on whatever your genius zone is and your app concept is. What is that core function? And then everything else becomes nice to have. You want the fastest path to users reusing your app. So, UI, usually non-essential. It needs to be functional UI though, right? If it looks like it was built use like with Netscape in 1990, like that's going to be a deterrent. People won't use that app because it looks so bad. They won't feel like cool and fun using it. So you need to take enough attention to the UI so that people don't mind coming back to it. But that's where the difference is between like essential and nice to have. It needs to look like an app from this century, right? From this decade, ideally, or even from this year. That just goes into how you prompt the AI for the first time or what UI tool you use to build it. There's a lot of AI builders out there. We can talk about some of them today. But like you just need some base AI. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I remember, I think I showed my Decide app and there was a student, I don't want to like call them out or anything. They're like, I don't know, that doesn't look that great. And I'm like, I know but it looks good enough to test the functionality, right? Can people use it? Is it ugly enough that it would deter them from coming back? Yes or no, right? Like, so again, your beta users are going to be people that should know you. So because they'll give you honest feedback. And so, like in the very, very beginning, it's more about collecting user data and getting people to use it than it is necessarily about making it absolutely beautiful and slick. But I mean, if you can, great, but you don't want it like it's relative. You want to get like 80% of the way there in 20% of the time. So, like take a couple days to get the UI right. Don't take 5 months. Right? Right? Does this make sense? Awesome. Some other ideas. Yeah, but organizing, something with a user base, something to organize, plan, research. That's awesome, John. Michelle, address the pain points of production, right? Yep. Linda, for how to get 5% on investment no matter what the market does, and it's not a CD, you need money and a list of investments that yield over 5%. Yeah, that could even be a PDF, not even an app at all, which you can use to build your potential list of beta testers, right? Every idea has potential to be in your ecosystem. Jacqueline, for my homeschooling metrics tracking app, it must have input fields for capturing the various metrics and store it in a database. Next step would be generating the reports in a few formats. Love it. Super awesome. So, so good. Excellent, folks. I love it. All right. So that's step one. And to be honest, this process I apply at every step of the journey, right? This is critical for getting your first initial prototype out, but it's also critical at every version you put out after that, right? So you're going to figure out what the core requirement is. And that, like, for instance, when I first built my app, I could see that the AI had made a dumb choice with how it had designed something. But I was like, I'm going to have to leave that one because right now I can't hand it over to users. Because you can always iterate while the users are using it, right? You can build more things as you go, but what's the minimum you need to get it in the hands of people that will use it, right? Um, and so the next step is to test it. Does it do what you expected, right? Does it do what you predicted? So first of all, you want to predict what you think should happen, right? You have to you are the holder of the vision. You have to know what you're building. Then you run it and then you compare it. And if it breaks, fix it now, right? Because this is core functionality. It's why we're doing it. And then also plan the right fix for later. And I can show you how to do that, right? There's a simple way that you can use. I use GitHub issues. You can just do it in a Google Doc, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. But you do want to plan, like, what would be the best fix? So for instance, like, my AI copy and pasted code. Anyone that's ever worked with me know that copying and pasting code is usually a no-no in my book. There's usually a better way of doing it, right? And if you want to know the key word to ask your AI for, it's dry. Don't repeat yourself, right? That's the key word. I'll just put it here. Dry, dry. Don't repeat yourself. Okay. So that's one thing you can ask for your code. So you might want to plan the right fix for later, right? So I usually solve everything twice. I do the band-aid now and I figure out what would I need to do to build to do it right, right? It's like imagine you had plumbing in your house that had a hole in it and it was like, "Oh my God, my house is filling with water." You might duct tape it to start. That is not going to last. You're going to have to fix it like with soldering, turn off the water, all the things. But you might have a short-term solution that is like a band-aid. Like, or if you have a really deep cut, you might put a band-aid on it to get to the hospital and they stitch it up for you, right? Like there's a short-term fix that you just do immediately, and there's a longer-term one. And it's always good if, however, if whatever the fix is cannot be truly and well fixed right now in this moment, fix it, move on. Do the minimum, note down what the appropriate one would be, and move on because it might be that that becomes something that becomes a real bottleneck and barrier. And then when you have some downtime, maybe it's in the hands of users, maybe you're running some over, like, maybe you've got some time, you're on vacation, you clean it up, right? You clean it up. Okay. But the AI accelerates the building, but the AI does not accelerate the testing. That actually, you still have to test it thoroughly. That is the builder's job. That's always the job. But with AI, especially, like that is the work, is testing to make sure because you're going to ask AI to build on your behalf and you need to be able to know if it built it right or not. Did it actually follow your directions? Is it hallucinating? Oh my gosh, I was fixing a bug a couple days ago and the AI was constantly telling me, no, the back end is fine. I tested it. I was like, okay, well, let's assume it's the front end. And I was like, walk me through how to test it on the front end. And so like I went in my browser and I like looked at what was getting sent, the data that was getting sent in the application. And I was like, that is perfectly correct. I was like, dude, it's the back end. He's like, oh, you're right. Claude, right? AI. And then it finally fixed it. But I went back and forth like 5 times with it telling me, swearing up and down, the back end was not the problem. I was like, dude, the back end's the problem. Right? Like, so sometimes AI gets stuck in a loop just like we can. And like, you gotta like just be able to show it, like, no, this is what's actually happening, dude. So because it responds to you differently than its own self-tests. So AI accelerates the building, but you have to be able to test it. That's the technical work that you have to be able to do. Okay. Awesome. If anyone has any questions on this, please drop it. Please feel free to drop it in the chat. All right. And again, if there's any aspect of this that you'd like to see, I'm happy to showcase it. I can try to like, I don't know, I could pick something and build it for you live so you can see what I do. Think about what you'd like to see during our open Q&A time, and I'm happy to demo something for you. Um, Next, so step 3, refine the user experience second. Once the core function works, then make it more usable, right? And you can be jotting notes down and ideas like while you're building, like, oh, like I still have it on my to-do list. I want to make light and dark modes. I want users to be able to log in. I want this. I want that. And I haven't built them yet, right? Because the core functionality comes first, right? Ooh, Eddie, what are the AI tools we should choose? I'm going to put that on questions. So I don't forget, right? So what AI tools to use, but I'm going to circle back to that one. Okay, so workshop, uh, handout. Okay, excellent. Oh, this is the workbook. I'll just give this the right name. Okay, good. Sweet. Okay. So my first step was users can input decisions, but the form is clunky. I can refine the UI, add error handling, and improve flow. And I can give you guys an example of what that would look like. Let me know if you'd like to see an example of what that looks like, and I can show you guys, right? So now it's your turn, right? After your core functionality works, what would you work on making more usable? Because so right now what we're doing is we're practicing breaking a big problem down into smaller chunks, like what Linda had pointed to about feeling overwhelmed. We want to avoid the overwhelm of building. We might have this beautiful, incredible vision, but we don't necessarily get there overnight. Now we have to break it down into smaller chunks, right? Smaller chunks. So, yeah, if anyone has usability thoughts about their app, like things that would be second tier to build, I can show you. I can't show you like my first version. This is pretty close to the UI of my first version, actually. I haven't touched this. But I'll show you an example. Okay, so if anybody has a decision they'd like feedback on, I'm happy to pop it in here, or I can copy and paste like one of my test cases. Um, but like there was a nice to have that I added, right? This is pretty basic. It's just a text box like you'd see for Google or ChatGPT or some kind of an AI. I have some hints here to share whatever's on your mind, your thoughts, how it feels in your body, any signs and synchronicities you've noticed. There's no wrong way to describe it. Actually, I could do this. We'll see if there's any bugs. There was a couple bugs yesterday, but I think they're fixed. Um, I did add this second, right? I did add usability. So this was the initial UI color scheme and setup that my very first prompt created. I didn't do anything special, right? Um, okay. So here's an example. I can just click to use that example in there. That is a UI nicety that I added. Why? You want your user to get a meaningful result in as little time as possible. I was like, I want people to get useful information in like 30 seconds or less in my app, right? Like, why do people choose one app over another? Well, does the other app take you 6 minutes to set up and that app takes you 30 seconds? Guess which app they're using? The one that they can start using immediately. So I added this, right? That became something. How do I help new users onboard quickly and easily? I give them an example so they can start playing. Okay, so it's slow. That's not MVP. Making it faster might not happen until I actually put real humans on building this. We'll see. We'll see how far I can push the AI. That's what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to see how far can I, as a solo builder, push the AI to build on my behalf. And uh-oh, if it takes too long, oh good, it worked. If it takes too long, sometimes it means it's not going to work. Okay. Again, it's a work in progress. I'm still building it. So this was very close to my original view, right? Very, very close. Because what I wanted is the ability to compare and contrast the prompt I just barfed on this AI and for it to show me like the pros and cons that I had already articulated. So this is not taking away my decision, it's mirroring my decision for me, right? Which I think is very important is that anyone's decision is their decision. This tool helps you make your own decision, right? It's facilitating your decision making. It is not making the decision for you, which can happen with AI depending on how you prompt it. So I've put guardrails in, right? So that this AI is mirroring and reflecting and organizing the user's own knowledge around their decision, right? So, and I realized, so like one of the things that shows up for me everywhere is body, mind, and soul, the Trinity, body, mind, and soul, body, mind, and soul. So I was like, okay, I bet there's body, mind, and soul in decision making, right? So logic is mind, vibe is body, and universe is like soul level, right? Higher purpose, things like that. And so what it's doing is so this person was thinking about accepting a job in San Francisco or staying where they currently are in Austin, Texas at their current position, right? And so what's happening is it's comparing and contrasting, accepting that job versus, in San Francisco versus staying in Austin, pick some nice emojis, and it's doing things for and against. So there's a great salary, it's a great opportunity, but it's far from their support network. Austin has some of the opposite things, right? They're going to feel like they're going to miss out on this opportunity. There wasn't any universe signs mentioned on San Francisco, but they kept seeing like staying grounded. They had a horoscope where it was like home is where the heart is, right? So some synchronicities were showing up for them. And then they felt tense when they thought about San Francisco and they felt relieved staying in Austin. That's pretty clear signage, right? Pretty clear signage. And so now AI actually gives decision guidance, right? Your inner wisdom is speaking loudly through multiple channels while your mind is caught on the financial opportunity. Your gut is saying the timing isn't right, right? Your mind is tempted by the money while your body, intuition, and the universe are all aligned towards staying put. So, since three of your guidance systems are pointing towards Austin, with only the logical financial mind pulling towards San Francisco, right? There might be another option. And so this app is going to also suggest situations where it's not clear cut. It's going to suggest third options. Could be waiting, like trusting divine timing, right? It could be remaining open to future opportunities or even seeking future opportunities and why you might want to do that. And then I need user feedback. So then I ask people to do helpful or not helpful. All right. And this is not, and so they can also give more information. It automatically logs it as soon as they click, but if they take the time to enter additional information, that will also be logged. So I did have to take some extra time to build out this piece, but this is how I'm going to iterate it to meet my unique user base, whoever that ends up being. This is what I need for them. Okay, this is what I need for them. So this is an example where I have spent the bulk of my work is not in the UI, but in making sure these prompts actually give useful advice, right? Useful guidance. And so the UI is not the main concern. It is bare bones. In fact, you can't even log in or track your decisions across multiple sessions yet. It's just like, hey, how I am solving the single most critical problem of my decision making app, how to give good guidance. Because once I can give good guidance automatically, okay, I can start to look at trends across user sessions, right? But I have to make sure that my core product is good, right? And that is the first step. That is the first step. Okay, let's see what else we have for questions. Suzanne says, I've been spending a lot of time on usability and interface because for me, the tedium of the current tools. Well, that's true, Suzanne, right? So, like, if the solution, if the problem that you're solving is tools exist, but they're not usable, then that's going to be different. Tools do exist for this. You can just type your question into AI and see what you get back, but it doesn't necessarily, there is no tool that organizes it and gives guidance in the particular way that I'm going for, right? So that's the core piece that I need to work on. And this level of UI was important because I think it's really useful to see side by side. Like it's pretty obvious, like almost all the green checks are over here that's probably the right choice for now, but maybe this is signaling that you want to be open to a 200K salary with great benefits, right? And so maybe it's to seek those opportunities where you are versus moving to San Francisco, right? There's nothing out there right now that does this. So I needed enough UI that it's not distracting or prevents um, prevents people from using it. Now, I'll be honest with you, when you see this on mobile, it sucks, right? And that would be my next highest priorities because people might want to use this on mobile. And the mobile view looks like this, just squished. It's not awesome. So that would be like the next piece I might dive into in terms of usability here. So you have to be cognizant of what your core functionality is. And if your problem is the tools exist, but they're all over the place, like I think in some sense Michelle is in this boat too, although it doesn't sound like there's any unified tool. If your problem that you're solving is usability, then it might be more important. But you could also be overcomplicating it, right? It could be the core thing you're providing might be like the training setup versus how usable it is. I don't know, right? But you want to create the tools that you need. Like, for instance, let's see if I can find a little bit. Um, Let me see if I can find my test dashboard. No, it's under admin. I don't know if this is, I don't remember. Shoot the URL. I'd have to go look for it. But anyways, um, okay, let me see. There is like a test dashboard. Let me see if I can figure it out really quickly what the URL is. I've hidden the URL so it's not awesome. Okay, so there is something that I like that I built to help me. All right, so I don't track user data yet. Let me see if I can. I'm looking at a different window. Oh, oops, I think I spelled it wrong. Feedback. There we go. Okay, and then this would obviously need to be cleaned up and made more secure before I launched it, but this is in beta right now. And so this was me just now. It thinks I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. It's not, yeah, that part's not accurate. But this tracks every question that goes into the app so I can start learning how are people using it, right? Again, I don't have like a strong group of beta testers using it right now, but I can go back and I can look at it. The other thing I built for myself is because again, most of these you can build in just like an hour or two. Like you just have a prompt, you test it, you're done, right? It's usually a sequence. But I also created, some automated tests and, figured out like I do a comparison structure so I can see if there's differences and then I submit bug fixes for myself. So now I over engineered this a little bit and I could tell while I was building it, I was over engineering for the moment of where I was in the app build process. But as someone who really values testing and I want to make my life easier, I knew I was going to need this. I was like, well, I might as well build it now because I know I'm going to want a way to triage the errors that I'm seeing. So the cool thing is you can build stuff to make that easy. All right, you can build stuff to make that easy. Okay. So that was my little hint in there. Um, yeah, so you'll have to decide how much UI is important to you. But the more you can start with the idea of your app in your head as you're writing the prompt, like I'll use music to get into flow, like I'll really like get myself in the right state where you like feel where the app is. You're like, "Yes, I want this." You can envision it, you can see it, and then you tell it. You tell the AI, "This is what I want." You can tell an AI tool like for UI, UX, you can tell a vibe code building tool. It just depends. There's a ton of them out there. And so, but like the more you can have a vision in your mind of what you want to see, the faster it'll get there. The faster it'll get there. All right. Super awesome. Super awesome. Okay, cool. Step four, nice to have features, right? Only after the core functionality and the user experience are solid. So I've handed this app to a handful of people. When I asked people about it, the idea, the concept, people are like, oh my gosh, I would use that, right? I've handed it out to a handful of people and they've played with it a little bit, but it didn't create like a raving fan that kept coming back for more. So that means I don't have it yet. So I'm still working on it. And so do I need this now or can it wait? you do still have to keep building the core functionality until you get that like audience of raving fans, that community of users that are just like, yes, I want this all the time. Once you're there, then you know it's ready to scale. But in the beginning, it's about building and making sure it's really, really good, right? Just keep in mind that everything you add is more to maintain with time and money, right? So it's really about prioritizing and what do you need to help it grow. And then you can deploy it when ready, not when it's perfect, right? You want user feedback immediately, as soon as possible. You want it yesterday because user feedback is how you're going to pick what to build next, right? So you want to get in front of real users, gather feedback, and iterate. And so that'd be the one thing I would say, Suzanne, is that if your app is at the point where it's usable and people can give you user feedback data, it is it might be the time to share it. There is something to be said about first impressions. The first impression you make with an app can determine if someone sticks with it or they go elsewhere. So you may want to keep your initial beta tester group small. See if anybody is like, becomes a raving fan and starts using it all the time. And if not, don't go broader with it. See what would like maybe talk to the people that you gave it to. Hey, what changes could I make? Right? This is why you want to make sure the beta testers are people they're close to you, so you can just like reach out to them. Because when people don't use your app, when they don't buy your product, you need to know why. And usually you need a conversation because people don't want to say negative things. They want to make you happy. They want to say nice things. Research has shown that users say what you want to hear, even if it's not what they feel. So the action tells us what they really feel. And then we want to have a line of communication where we can actually ask them, right? We can actually ask them. So, awesome. So the users will surprise you. They're going to use it differently than you expect, but you can build, test, learn, and iterate, right? So Suzanne added, so for example, with her triathlon tool, an athlete using her tool might say, I'm training for an Ironman, but I'm exhausted and it's still 6 months away. So their problem is following a fixed plan and or having a coach that plans by assumed requirements. Or the opposite, I'm not an athlete. I signed up for a sprint triathlon this summer. Maybe I should wait until next year. In both situations, the solution is listening to their intuition, but also incorporating what an experienced coach knows about preparing for these events. But even I couldn't tell you right now what the steps in my mind are, even though I could write the plans, guidelines without much thought. That's a great question, Suzanne. That sounds like something for Decide, actually, which one they want. But I think like articulating your intuition, right, as much as you can. And even helping them make the guidelines. Like it could be presenting two options, that A or B, right? So there's a lot of potential options to solve that problem for sure. And I'm happy to go into it at the end if you want. All right, cool. Excellent. So you don't need to be a coder to vibe code effectively, right? You just need to know what you want to build, the core functionality, test it as you go. And you have to know what the expected is, and then you run the actual, iterating based on reality, what users actually want, not assumptions, and fixing your problems methodically, right? So for anyone that's familiar with me and what I teach the 4 pillars of problem solving, right? And that's just a methodical way of solving problems. And for those that would like guidance on these steps as you build it, in the Vibe Coder course, I walk you through the process. So happy to share information on that towards the end. Oh no. I think so. Let's see. There we go. Oh boy. All right. Well, this doesn't look great. I'll figure this out. Okay. So now, is anyone like pasted in with live testing? I'll try it at the end. I'll put that in there. Let's see. Let's see. Pasted in. Don't worry, I can share it. Okay, I'll put that in for later. All right, I want to cover this. Does anyone ever felt uncertain about selling? Just out of curiosity. Because I think this is why a lot of people get stuck. I know it's why I got stuck, not wanting to sell something. Has anyone felt this before? Has anyone ever felt? Yeah, Eddie hates it. Yep. So there is a mindset shift here. There is a mindset shift. And then we're going to, this is an important mindset shift because we're about to talk about the money. How much money can your app idea make, right? This is the fun part. Oh my gosh. We're going to do that next, but we want to make sure that money doesn't make us feel uncomfortable, right? Okay. I got so many people responding. Okay, yes. So, and I had this trouble too, is that, and it's not for nothing, right? Historically, there are people, there are historic business, men and women that, used money to their gain and to their buyer's disadvantage, right? Business and money has been abused, right? Scammers are there. As soon as like the first like product started changing hands, there was like snake oil salesmen, right? And there's business and money has been weaponized against people, right? In the past. And so we're all recovering from that. We're all healing that. But if we take a broader view, a more enlightened view about the role of business and money in our lives, right? When you have excess money, what happens? Abundance happens not just for you, it happens through you. So, like, if I had extra money, I might give it some of it to my family. I might donate to causes I believe in, right? So, you having excess money is a win for you and for society. And so, we want to get past any barriers to financial success. And if selling is uncomfortable, I get it. Selling is totally can be totally uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be though, right? So the way I think about it was I actually didn't start with the Decide app. I started with a custom Claude prompt that gave me such incredible advice and helped facilitate my decision making. I was like, I need to give this to the world and I don't know how yet. And I was like, I have to share this. Otherwise, I'm like withholding, I'm withholding this gift from the world that I've been given. And so when you can think about selling in that way as a gift, selling as a service, as a contribution, right? You're about to build something that solves real pain. That's why you want to build it. People are suffering right now. They're wasting time on their triathlons, right? They, you know, maybe they're lost and confused with how to do their investments or they're not sure how to decide, right? Like to me, I remember the pain of not understanding how to decide something, right? Of being lost and frustrated and like it is painful to be here. So I had to learn how to make decisions well enough that I could build this, right? But now I have this gift that potentially, like, how many people have struggled with a decision at some point in their life? Right? So many people. So this has potential for huge impact. So getting it right matters, building it matters. And if I can't sell it and monetize it, it's going to die, right? Because creating an app requires not a lot, but a little bit of revenue and cash flow to host it, to pay for the maintenance and the ongoing development. And also, if I'm going to shepherd and guide this project, I need enough, financial stability to be able to do that. I can't build it like I can't if I don't know where my rent is coming from next month, right? I can't build this. So I have to have stability. So these are all part of that. So here's the reframe, the mindset reframe that I would propose. You're about to build something that solves real pain. People are suffering right now. If you build the solution and don't tell them about it, you're leaving them in pain. You're withholding help. It's not generous, it's actually unkind. Offering your app is a service, and getting paid for it is fair exchange, right? Money is just energy. It's an energetic exchange for creating value in the world. That's it. That's literally all it is. It's just a way to convey energy, right? Everyone wins. Because if you build an app and you give it away and then you don't have the financial resources to keep it going, now you've given them something and you've taken it away. How are they going to feel about that? So it's our job to do the due diligence, to actually tell people about our app, share it, right? Figure out how to monetize it, right? All these things allow the pain that we have felt to not be an issue for others, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sell that experience. Exactly. So keep thinking about it that selling is service. And if you don't believe that it's a service, then maybe we need to rethink your app or what it's doing, right? And that's partly also why you start out with just users. You want to have a plan to monetize it because you don't want to create something in a vacuum that can never go anywhere. But you don't have to worry about monetizing it first. You can let that emerge. You can focus on the contribution. That will also help, right? That will also help move through that resistance if you do have any resistance to selling, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to focus on getting users to love this and solving people's problems, right? When you can solve someone's problem and they'll give you a testimonial, they'll tell their friends about it, right? That's how you know when you have a winner is when people start sharing it and you didn't ask them to. That's when you know you've got something dialed in. All right? Everybody wins. So this is huge. All right, so just make sure and you want to feel that way. Like imagine selling your app idea, right? If that feels like ooh to you, do the work, do the deeper work of digging into that. I'm happy to workshop that with anybody after this, but you want to make sure that you've addressed that for sure. All right, cool. So, who's ready to validate their idea and see how much it's worth? Who's ready? That's right, Adam. Create value to create a paying customer. Yep. Who's ready to see how much they can make? Jacqueline is. I love it. Anybody else? Just Jacqueline. There we go. All right, good. Oh, Suzanne's having resistance. No worries, Suzanne. We can always DM later. And for anyone who's doing the vibe coding course, we can go deeper into this, right? Absolutely. Because yeah, we have time because you can be releasing this resistance while you're building it, but having this resistance will prevent you from monetizing it, and you can even monetize it, but you will not be able to hold that money unless we release that resistance. Because speaking as someone who like basically allowed seven figures to go through her hands like a fire hose and was like, wait, can I have some of that? Shoot, there it is, there it goes. Right? Like if you have money resistance, you won't be able to keep it anyways, even if it comes to you, right? Lottery winners, they don't always have the mindset and the mental capacity to actually hold the money, and so they don't have it long. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I need to see if it works first. Absolutely, Linda. Creating a high quality product first is absolutely essential, and that's in part like just in terms of like product development, like why you want to create the product and get it in the hands of users first. When you start having users telling you how awesome your product is, like your app is, and like using it for themselves, now you know you have something, and that gives you so much confidence to go out there and sell it, right? It's like, oh man, this is helping people. I better share this with the world, right? Super awesome. All right, awesome. I love it, Michelle. Michelle's been doing her numbers. All right, guys. So this is the part where we get kind of excited. I love this part. And almost every app idea I've ever tested was like in the multi-million dollar range. I was like, oh yeah, this is worth doing. So before we validate with users, right, let's check. Will this idea make enough money to be worth building, right? Because here's the truth, guys. Like at the end of the day, you're going to have to be building this for a while, right? Maybe just a few weeks, maybe a couple months, but you're going to spend time. AI credits cost money, right? It might be 20 bucks a month. To be honest, I spend 200 bucks a month on my AI credits, right? It might be like it depends on how fast you want to go and how much you want your AI to do for you. Like it can be an investment, not as nearly the investment of paying software developers, tens of thousands of dollars, but it's still an investment, right? It's an investment. So we want to make sure that the payoff is worth it. So here is how I do this for app ideas. And to be honest, I do this for any software I build for people. I run these numbers to make sure that this idea is viable before we invest our team's time in it. Because I don't want to build something that can't go anywhere. They're not coming back to me to keep building it. I want to build a long-term relationship. There's a lot of overhead in starting up a software project, let me tell you. And so, like, I want to make sure that there's a chance. I'm not going to say no, but I want to make sure there's a chance for this to keep going beyond the initial delivery. Otherwise, it might not be worth doing the project. It might be, depends on how lucrative it is, right? Yeah, anyways. So we need to do a quick, simple revenue calculator. So the first step is we want to calculate the total addressable market. So how many people actually have this problem, right? So for me, in Decide, my problem is anyone who's ever faced decision paralysis or chronic overthinkers. Best estimate in the US is about 25 million people, right? They probably have iPhones, right? Like, or, a smartphone that they're using, because those people might have enough disposable income that they would pay a few dollars a month for my app, right? And so I asked my AI to like use Reddit and some like online message boards and like assess the market value. So that's what I figured out. There's about 25 million people. So your turn is open up ChatGPT. Any AI will do. It can even be Google. How many people in the US or in the world, depending on your market, have this problem, right? So, and Michelle, like, how many lighting engineers are there? How many lighting production designers are there, right? Like, like, Suzanne, how many triathletes train every year, right? Like, whatever the number is of the target users, pop it in there. All right, pop it in there. And I would love to see, okay, awesome, Michelle, 55,000. Love it. That's awesome, right? Suzanne, 300K to 3 million. Suzanne, you might want to like differentiate those numbers a little bit. Awesome. I love it. Or maybe you're telling me the 1 and the 10%. Okay. So awesome, John, 5 million. That's awesome. So now we need to calculate the 1 and the 10%. So this is just taking your number and dividing it by 10 twice, right? Why do we need to do this? Even if your business sucks, you can probably get 1% of the market. That is like random chance in business, right? You won't necessarily stay in business, but you can get started on 1%. You can assume if your product actually works, you can probably get 10% of the market, right? If your product actually works, even if your marketing's not good, if your product works, it will virally, organically take over, right? Uh, you can also have marketing, right? And hit 10%. So, like 10% is a really accessible number. It's optimistic. So, when you come out of the gate and start monetizing this, you should expect to be able to convert between 1 and 10% of your total addressable market, right? So, now we have those numbers. That's incredible, Timothy. 3.2 billion people, about 190 million in the US alone. Yeah. So start with the US market. Sounds great, right? Now, we need to do a little bit of competitive pricing. Again, we have AI. This like, oh my gosh, when I first started business before AI, like you'd think you know, like this is like the Stone Ages, right? But it was just a couple of years ago. I'd have to do all sorts of this market research. It'd take me hours or days to like do this. Now I just type it into AI. Hey, what are competitors charging? What do similar apps charge? So I did some Googling, with some chat GPTing, and it said 0 to 20 bucks a month. I cross-checked those websites and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. And I saw like between $4 and $20. So I can just pick something reasonable, right? Okay, let's say, to be honest, it could be as low as $5 a month, it could be 30 bucks a month. I don't know, right? Business users might pay more than personal users, whatever. I just picked $10 because it could be the middle, it could be the average. $10 was pretty close to the average, and it was the middle. And it's super easy to calculate, so I didn't have to do hard math. Okay, so fill it in. And then I multiplied it. The number of users times the price I can charge times 12 for a whole year, right? So conservatively, when I get this right, right, it's not right yet because it hasn't taken off. But when I get this right, conservatively, I'm making between 30 million and 300 million a year. That's like stupid retire your spouse and your family money, right? Like, I think this is worth my time. Right? So you have to do your numbers. Are they worth your time? Wow, if I can get just 1% of the market, I'm hitting 30 million a year. Yeah, I think that's worth building. And it might even be worth a couple $1,000s of investment. Like, to be honest, it's worth quite a big investment to hit that. You never know if you've quite got the winner until you see it. So, like, you want to invest as you go. But gosh, that sounds pretty nice. I might only charge $5 a month. I'm still looking at 15, 150 million a year. My dream in life is only to hit 150 million a year. I'm happy. Like on repeat. I'm good. That's my ceiling. I'd retire at that point. I'm good. Retire to a beach, have some nice tropical drinks. Okay, 1.2 million in the Tampa Bay area, so about 12,000. Awesome, Eddie. That's so good. So I want to see some numbers. Can anyone do the math? What does 1% look like? What does 1% look like for you, for your app idea? I can't like these this is the most fun part for me. I love it. Minimum 3K, 3K a year? That seems really low. Suzanne, we got to work up those numbers. I mean, it might be enough because if you need it for you, it could be enough, right? Research. Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. I was like, $3,000 doesn't seem right. Okay. Let's see what we got. What do people have, huh? Oh, 60K. That's not bad, right? Would you want to build it for 60 grand a year? That's for 1%, right? And that's why it's important to differentiate 1% to 10% because 1% is really easy to hit, right? When your product is good, 1% is easy. 10% requires some more business savvy. You got to do some marketing and some advertising to hit that usually. But it's totally doable, right? So you would say probably 10% is where you'd be in like 3 to 5 years, but 1% might be where you're in the first 3 years, right? As you're like, it depends on how fast you can build your product and customize it to your target users. And so that's why these next 8 weeks are so important, right? Let's see, what else do we have? Um, Good. And so Suzanne might have a membership. Exactly. And to be honest, for anyone who the initial number does not look super high, remember, you can monetize other products around a user base. So for instance, right now I'm selling a course about vibe coding because that's what I do, right? I could have created an app to help people vibe code, or I could teach a course on it. So like once you've established yourself as an authority, the app can be like the front end of a whole ecosystem on the back side where you can charge much more higher ticket. Like Suzanne, you might create a membership for coaches to help them coach better because you're really good at it. And they might pay thousands of dollars for that because they're making money. It's an investment in themselves, it's a business expense. So the bulk of the revenue doesn't have to come from your app alone, right? It doesn't have to come from the app alone. Um, okay, I'm really liking some of these numbers, right? Okay, so John saw 50K or 220K a year. Awesome. I'm assuming 50, I don't know, 50K is like side hustle. It sounds like your intelligence app at 220K is a way better proposition. Jacqueline, 3.3 million a year for 1% for a $5 a month prescription. It sounds like that's a winner, right? And this is how you can compare ideas, right? Like, hey, which idea should I do? Oh, wait, this one has way more upside. Let me build this one. You can build the other one later, right? Like, just like, let's take care of your financial needs, right? No worries, Mauricio. Eddie, 430K. Awesome, right? These are great. To me, anything over 6 figures at 1% is probably doable because it would pay for you to continue doing the development, right? If it's really close to just 6 figures, like 100 grand, it doesn't give you the wiggle room to hire developers because I'm going to show you how to vibe code your app, right? Like that's what I'm doing right now. But once it's successful and has users, you're probably going to want professional eyes on this to get it into production for the long term, right? Like it's one thing to vibe code a prototype and get user feedback and know you have a winner. And it's another thing to actually like deliver it in the world and maintain it and make sure the security is good and keep up to date with all the latest tech. Like once you've proven your idea, you might actually want experts helping you. So you don't have to, and you can focus on growing the business, right? Instead of being the developer. So that's the idea is that the cool thing is this way of using AI allows you to do the proof of concept and to start generating revenue so you can pay for the experts. So you don't have to do it all yourself, right? Super awesome. Yeah, feel better, Mauricio, for sure. Okay. So if if it's not worth your time at 1%, right? See if you can charge more or if there's other monetization strategies like tiered pricing. Is the total addressable market actually bigger than you thought? Right? All things to consider, or maybe a different idea, right? Is what you're looking for. So just to bring this all together, and again, I'm going to stay on to answer any questions you guys have, right? Oh yeah, $3 a month for that is super cheap. You could probably go five. Three and five is like the same money, right? Like there's like certain price points that are like equivalent money. Like if you're going to charge $700, you might as well charge 1,000, same money. If you're going to charge $3,000, you might as well charge 5 grand, same money. When you hit around like 1K, like so there's a price point cross around 2K, right? 1K, 2K, 5K, 10K, 100K, right? Like there's you might as well charge the same. So, anyways, like, but you can fine tune it and workshop it. You want to charge the least you feel comfortable charging that gets the result you're looking for. But what you want to avoid is if like you only had like how many users makes it viable so you could quit your day job and go all in, right? You want to make sure that that is a doable number, and you'll want to see that before you completely leave your day job, right? If that makes sense. Yeah, $5, 720K a year. That sounds pretty good. And you can price test it and you can look at your competitors and you can see the quality of the testimonials you get and all the things. Awesome. So, what have we accomplished today? All right, what have we accomplished today? So, we identified your genius zone. We translate it into an app concept. So the other thing, oh, we didn't do is testing your commitment level. Okay, I left that out for today, but I want to just touch on this briefly. This is something that we'll be doing in the course as well. Do you feel so passionate about this that you can't unsee it? I'll add this into the live notebooks stuff. So like so can't unsee it. I had a couple different versions. My original version was 60 pages, and so I cut some of the pieces out. And it looks like I cut this part out, but I'll just mention it briefly. You want to make sure that when you think about this app, you can't unsee it. To give you an example, J.K. Rowling, when she wrote Harry Potter, her baby was with her. She was on food stamps, right? Public assistance, writing in cafes, right? She had to create it. She couldn't not. Same was true for me. Like when I had my first business idea, I couldn't unsee it. And I quit a really lucrative job that was very stable, right? It was making almost six figures, working 7 months out of the year, about 20 to 30 hours a week. Most people would kill for that job, right? And I was like, I can't build it here. I can't build it here. And I couldn't unsee it. I had to build it. So even though I had like this great, what on paper looks like this great setup, I wasn't happy and I couldn't unsee it. I had to build it. So without that kind of like, I have to build it chutzpah, when things get tough, and they will, right? You're going to go like the entrepreneurial journey, like this is part of it. Things will get tough sometimes. If you don't have that inner fire of having to see this in the world, you'll hit that resistance and you won't make it through. So you need enough inner passion and fire to really take this idea. And that's partly why we look at the numbers. Oh, I can make $300 million. I like that number. I think I'm going to push through these little things the world throws at me, and I'm just going to push through. I'm going to make it happen, right? So you want to test your commitment level. Today we also learned the vibe coding process. No worries, Rebecca, right? We've helped you calculate the revenue potential so you can decide if your idea is worth building. But here's what we didn't cover, right? We 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 didn't cover, we touched on the process to build. I showed you how I build. But what I didn't have time to cover today is some of this deeper work of how to find these real complaints and how to get people to say that they'll actually use it, getting that proof of demand. So there are some deeper steps we can take even in this first week to do some more market research. How to vibe code your prototype step by step from your vision to the working app. We didn't have a chance to cover that today because to be honest, it takes a lot longer to explain all those details. We didn't discuss how to deploy it so people can test it. This is where the tech usually goes wrong. Whether you are a coder or not, deployment, live deploying is always a gotcha moment. I've seen it take even experienced developers a month to deploy. I deployed, it was like a week. I still had to like email the AI builder customer service to help. Like, I mean, it's never push button. So, right, like if you want someone in your corner helping you figure out what the heck is going on, right? I provide that support inside the course. how to get feedback from your users and iterate quickly, how to decide that, right? I show you that today, but I didn't show you how I did that, right? I showed you my testing dashboard, my triaging, but I didn't show you how I do it. I didn't show you the four pillars in action. So this is that process of debugging, problem solving, and staying unblocked. And so that's where this Vibe Coder course comes in. So if you're ready to build your vision, we start this Tuesday. It is going to be 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, but everything is recorded. I know a lot of people have time on nights and weekends, but I need to be able to think and be fresh. And so I had to pick a time in the day when my mind is in top shape to give you the best possible quality course. And so what is included, it's an 8-week course. There's a bonus night session. It's the complete validation process, AI powered prototyping step by step. So the vibe coding in action, deployment iteration. So it's going to be weekly live sessions that I'm teaching live, plus a community of builders, right? All aligned around the same vision. So if you're interested, I hope you'll consider joining us. If you are in tech innovators, you're already in. If you've already invested in the course, you're already in. You do not need to do anything more. But if you are interested in joining us, I invite you to click the link, elevatetech.com/vibe coding course, VCC, and join us. Payment plans are available through Klarna. I don't remember how much it is. It's like, assuming that if for any reason, this is a brand new payment setup. If for any reason things don't work, just text me, DM me, right? Yeah, we'll be able to get you in. It's not a problem. But this is like a brand new course offering. And so some of the things are a little bit different. Let me just see how much the Klarna is. It'll be around 65-ish bucks a month if you did Klarna. So, and again, it's totally worth it because imagine investing hours and hours, like weeks and months of your time, spinning your wheels, or tens of thousands of dollars on developers, or you could have a course to do it right. Even if you want to ultimately hire developers to do this work for you later on, wouldn't you like to know how to manage them and what they're talking about, right? So this course provides that kind of educational pieces, right? Super awesome. All right, sweet. Yeah, so Eddie, what time? These are going to be 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern most Tuesdays. There was a couple Tuesdays I had conflicts, so I moved them to Wednesdays, one Wednesday and one Sunday, but everything is recorded and you can listen to it right on double time if you wanted. You can watch the replay, and there's a huge workbook, right, where you can work through the steps even without the videos, right? I recommend the videos because that's where the mindset work happens. But like there's ways that you can fit this into your life and integrate it, so you can move forward faster. Yes, Adam, it's 8 weeks plus a bonus ninth week. Let me see if I can just pull up the course thing. I have a schedule. Where did I put the schedule? There it is. Yes, 8 weeks and then a bonus ninth week where we're doing prompt engineering, scaling, and maintenance. So what are we going to cover? We're going to talk about even more detail about how to prototype it. And then you're going to get homework to prototype it. And then we're going to come back and talk about it. So like anything that comes up while you're building, we're going to answer questions, right? So you're not going to have any barriers to success. We're going to talk about, UI for non-designers. There's, going to be more developer environments set up, the Git workshop, testing and quality assurance, user feedback and iteration, how to monetize it, live demos from the community, Q&A, and then also bonus prompt engineering, scaling, and maintenance, because I'm assuming most of you will have some element of AI in your apps. You don't have to. But if you do, I want to talk about prompt engineering just a little bit to touch on it. And we start this Tuesday. We actually start in just 2 days. Let's see. Someone had a question as well. Couple questions. So one question Eddie had was what AI tools to use. There is a ton of AI tools. So one of the tools that I use is called Emergent.ai. I chose that tool because it was rumored to be the best deployment experience. It was still not super smooth. But there's so many. There's Mocha. You can start with Figma Make for UI. There's Lovable, right? There's like build.so, I think. Like what there's also like just like Claude Code, right? The traditional. There's so many builders. You just Google, you hit a builder. So what I'm hoping in this course is that we might actually end up using a couple different builders, and that might be something that we learn together of testing these different ones out. I went with that one. I've been relatively happy with it. I'm one of its power users. I don't know how big it is. If I'm like one of the top 30 people using it, I don't know if it's like one of the main ones, but lovable. There's like Build SO, there's a ton of them. There's so many. So we can just pick them. Let's see. I think I had some other questions. All right, cool. Let me see if I'm going to just stop sharing. And again, I'm happy to stay on. We are at time, but I'm happy to stay on if anybody has questions. Totally happy to answer them. See, I think Rebecca had a question. No worries. Rebecca has a question about the course. It's happening live on Tuesdays. Yeah, 1 to 3 p.m. Right? But you absolutely can watch the replays because it includes access to our new Elevate Tech Discord community. So for anyone who's building these vibe coded apps, we have a separate community where you can start to ask questions and you can ask me questions in there. And so you can still get the support that you need while building it, even if you can't attend live. But it is 1 to 3 p.m. One day it'll be a Wednesday, one day it'll be a Sunday for 8 weeks. But yeah, everything is recorded because I that's one of the beauties of the digital world is that like I had to pick a time between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. or 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. when I could do it because that's when my mind is works the best because I want to be able to answer your questions, on the fly and support you. So it is 1 to 3 p.m. Tuesdays, but you can absolutely watch the replays and still get a ton out of it. And you're going to be able the workbook, like I can just give you it like let's see, vibe coder course. Like I'll just like, yeah. So like there's gonna be like the lessons, like you're gonna be able to go through and just cherry pick the exercises or go deep. Like we covered some of these pieces already. So you might be able to skim some of these and just focus on the exercises, right? On what you've worked on today. But we're gonna be building out all these pieces together as we go throughout the course. Oh shoot, I was like showing you something, but I wasn't screen sharing. Hold on. Let me try that one more time. All right, cool. But like I'm going to be giving you a course um handout, like workbook. It's more like a course textbook, to be honest, where we're going to talk about all the things as part of this course. And so some of them builder mindset, like we already talked about today. You've already covered that. So you can skim it and see like, do I need this, right? We've already covered some of these pieces. We didn't cover everything. If you go to show outline, right, there's actually 7 different lessons for how to know if your app idea is a winner. So we did some of the exercises together today, the ones that were quick that we could do live in 2 hours. But there's deeper ones where you have to actually go ask your friends, right? Like just 5 people. Can you get 5 people to say yes to it? Right? And then when to proceed versus pivot and workshopping that. And then you can ask questions about that. So there are a couple more things that will come into play, but there's a full workbook. So if for any like if you learn best by videos and listening, you can come live, watch the replays. If you learn best by doing, you can also skip ahead just to the exercises and all the information is going to be there. So, because I'm going to run the course very similar to how we ran today. Yep. When will the videos be ready? Michelle, probably almost instantaneously. We set up automations so that, and I'm working with our staff tomorrow to set up the automations so videos like this and all the future ones just show up on a YouTube playlist as soon as they're ready, as soon as they've been processed. So an hour or two after they're done, it's just how long Zoom takes to process, and then it gets sent immediately to YouTube with a script. So it's automated. Great questions. Great questions. Awesome. Yep, 8 weeks and bonus week. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, exactly, Timothy. No, so yeah, it's totally cool. Like replays are fine. I'm trying to give everyone as many different ways of navigating the material as possible so you can find what suits your learning. To be honest, I watch all of my courses on replay because I'm from Jersey. I talk Jersey fast and I like to be able to speed up my videos. I'm hoping some people will attend live because I do benefit from your questions and I'm sure they will. So, but we don't have to have everybody attending live. We're making it available so that you can do the work when it makes sense for you, right? When you do your best work. That's awesome. Cool. Excellent. Okay, excellent. Suzanne, I'm going to run your thing. And if anyone has a question, they want to come off mute and ask it about your app or about the course, happy to answer it. Happy to answer.
So mine, it said, there's 55,000 people in the
Right.
business.
Yeah.
And so it's 150,000 at 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And then then we'll be scaling up into big touring concerts eventually, but we have to like earn our way into that. So to be worth more later, but 150,000 is worth doing.
Nice. If you think so, right? Like the question is, because you want to allow little wiggle room so you can buy software, buy the AI credits, buy some advertising, and pay yourself something that you're happy with, right? So I think 150K is definitely a borderline. It depends on how much you need. Like for instance, I live in a very expensive suburb outside of New York City with 5 children. So I am supporting 7 people on my salary. So I really can't accept an idea that's the 1% is less than 100 grand a year. Like just bar none. Like I cannot. I won't be able to make it work. I'd be better off getting a job instead. Right. So you have to decide for you what that threshold is because the upside is probably worth it. The need is there. And it sounds like you're only charging $3 a month, which sounds like if you said 50, oh wait, 55 anyways,
25 a month. 25 a
45,
month.
25 a month. That's really reasonable. 25 a
Yeah.
month. And like 25 to $30 a month, man. Like once you get to like yeah, I think there's room to grow there and have upcharge services as well. So I think there's definitely some possibility. But yeah,
Yeah. I have some
so
different ideas for add-ons, so
yeah, and it could be like if you have maybe you have like residual income or you work a job that allow this the time investment for building these could be side hustle. So if you have like a day job, right, 150K might double your salary or more than double it. It might be more than enough. Like Timothy's like, I'll pay off my mortgage with 140K, right? Like so you have to decide for you if that money is really worth it. But I'm just letting everybody know, allow like some wiggle room. So remember, allow 20 to 30% for taxes, right? Allow some money for advertising, maybe like 10% for advertising. So you won't get to keep all the money, right? So you want to make sure that there's enough wiggle room that you're cool. Some people are cool off 50 grand a year, right? If the payoff could be millions, right? It
what
all
about
depends on
hosting?
you. What?
What about hosting and domain and all of that?
So the hosting and the domain, usually you can deploy within the builder that you're using. Domains are like $12 a year. That's really low. So I'm paying for my AI credits with Emergent. I haven't done the research on the other options, but I'm paying $200 a month with Emergent and I get a deployment for free. But like or not for free. Like it covers a deployment. So like allowing a couple $100. Like if you are a coder and you can like build it from scratch without a builder and you can just deploy it yourself, deployment is like $20 a month. Like that's what we pay for our client software projects. So like, but I'm doing this as a I'm like I'm walking the walk of the non-technical person. I am technical, but I'm walking the same pathway that a non-technical person would have to walk, right?
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. Calculate your overhead, taxes, utilities, medical, right? Like, yep, super awesome, Melissa. Thank you for sharing. Right. Like, yeah, 30% for overhead resources and 35% for income. That's awesome. Right. But you can do more for your income, right? You just have to decide what that's worth to you. Right. But it is possible to take too much of the money and you like screw the business over. I've played in this sandbox, and I've experimented and learned my lessons. Super awesome. Great question, Michelle. Any other questions about the course or your app, right? How can I help you guys move forward today?
I have a question. If
Yeah.
I was to pursue the idea of comparing prices with products, um,
Hmm.
which was just really a slither of what was in my mind,
Sure.
um, would the people? would my audience be people who are like budget conscious, or if I become
Mm,
more niche, like say like keto or low carb or healthy food type people.
mm,
That's why I just kept it like just keep it broad. So whatever they stick in there to search on, and it gets comparisons of products of that type of food, and give a little bit of information about um, you know, the carbs, the sugar, the price,
mhm.
maybe some health thing about it, but not big, and have AI to actually go out and of course figure out
Yeah.
where to go and get this information.
I love that. Yeah,
So
and I think that's a, oh, sorry, Anna, was that your question or please,
yeah,
I
that was my question
okay.
is the audience. What type of audience would I be
Yes.
targeting?
That is super smart, Anna, that you're asking that question because you're right. A cost conscious customer is not going to be willing to pay as much, right? If someone's on a fixed income and that's why they're budgeting, they are not necessarily going to be a heavy buyer. But if you price it properly, like if it's $1 a month, that's probably $205 a month, right? Like, would they, if you think on average they're going to save, $10 to 100 or $200 a month, right? You can actually price out, make sure the investment is worth it for them. I think it's smart to consider health conscious people, right? Because they tend to have disposable income, right? If someone is worried about their health, they typically are above the survivor level and they're looking at nice to haves, right, in terms of their quality of life. So it is helpful to be intentional about like, does the market you're looking for have disposable income that they're willing to invest in this, right? Like, for
Yeah.
instance, I created an academy to help people get six-figure jobs, but if you didn't have the investment to make in yourself, it's not going to be a good fit. So that's going to like cancel out some, right? But appeal to others. And so it is helpful to be intentional about your niche. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Great question, Anna. Great question. Let's see. Timothy, why can't you do a broad group and then have filters for niche? Well, Timothy, this is spoken like a true computer scientist and technologist. Let me explain. This is one place that I have learned through painful experience where business and tech are not the same. Okay, why not have a broad group and then have filters for niche groups? Okay, quick aside in technology, art as a technologist, my job is to think as generally as possible. How little code can I write to solve as many people's problems as possible with parameters, right? Parameterization. In marketing and business, the idea is to call out your niche as close to them as possible. There's this process of niching down. And when I talked about building a moat, you want to find a niche that you can own. It's called a beachhead. It's like in battle. I hate this example. I'm gonna have to come up with a better analogy. But it's like the low-hanging fruit. Like you find a place that's like you can own and it's yours. Like when in world this word comes from when in World War II, when they were, on the beach at Normandy, that became our beachhead where like we owned it and then we could own the war. It turned the tide of the war. We want a niche that's small and unique enough that we can own it, that it can be ours. Because and that's a pool we can keep hitting again and again to build a sustainable business because you need sustainable revenue. With a business, you want to go up and to the right. And the way you do that is by niching down your marketing to find a very specific person. Now, you can niche down too much, right? This is where the discernment and the balance comes in. You can niche down too much, and then there's too few people. That's okay though, if you charge them enough, right? It's like Rolls Royce versus Kia. Kia charges what, like 20, 30 grand for a car? Rolls Royce charges 300K to a million for a car ish. I'm guessing I haven't done the number work, right? But like the same thing, a car that gets you from A to B, depending on how you position it in the marketplace, can earn you completely different amounts. So so Timothy, as a technologist, you can absolutely build the broad solution, and I recommend you do so. But to make your first, let's say, million, right? To make your first revenue, you want to niche down to who will pay the most, right? The quickest, who's got the highest pain, who's going to be in alignment with you, like who are you really serving? Because if you try to build something that serves everyone, you may end up serving no one well, and then you don't have a business. Is this making sense a little bit? So, this is something I've learned as someone who is from tech who switched to do business. It's like that was the hardest lesson for me in business is that I couldn't make my stuff for everybody. And I've lived it because I actually opened my doors super wide, too wide in my marketing. And I ended up calling in not the people that are here, but some people that weren't a great fit. They're not here anymore, obviously, right? Like, so it is really important for your marketing to like kind of niche down and find that sweet spot of people that are a good fit for you and what you do and what you're trying to create. And you can always add more later, right? So, like for instance, let's say I'm creating a software company and I'm selling to like, and I want to find clients for that software company. I'm going to look for people that are really, really close to that pain point versus farther out, right? And so you can always go farther out. You can always broaden. You can always make your moat bigger, but you want to make sure your core, no one can touch you, right? Like you own that. You own that space. And it can take, you want to allow a year or two to own that space, right? You don't have to take a year or two to build your app, but you may take a year or two to build the sustainable business around your app. Like I'm just talking from experience here. It can happen overnight. It doesn't have to take that long, but you want to allow that time so you're not like under the gun making choices that are like, right, that might work in the short term, but not the long term, right? So you want to think about it. Probably takes a year or two to get that business stable enough, right, to be where you want it to be. Super, super awesome. Suzanne, is my beta available to experiment with? Absolutely. You're problem solving with a friend right now. I wonder if she could use your app. I would love people to test it. I will, and I can screen share. I ran your query from before. It's here. If you find bugs, please tell me. This is how you get it. But if you have a decision you're making, maybe it's about enrolling in the Vibe Coder course. Maybe it's about your app idea. And I would love to see it. And you can see it's anonymous. Everything is totally anonymous. But I do track it just because I'm learning. And so you can kind of walk this process. Yeah, if they can afford to worry about their health. Okay, cool. Okay, no, no worries, Rebecca. It's all good. Yes, yes, yes. So super, super awesome. Yeah, happy to have people testing the tool. Just know it's in active development. It's in beta. I'm gonna keep making it better until it takes off or I get a better idea around this topic, which can also happen, right? Sometimes your first attempt is not the final one. Okay, right? It's all good. Super, super awesome. Cool. But yeah, no, Suzanne, I think there's the I think the app is looking for more from your prompt. Your prompt is very logical. It's looking for more. It did have a suggestion, let it emerge through practice. But so I'm interested to see what comes up for you. That's awesome. Good, good, good. Awesome. Any other question? Anyone else want to have a question about your particular app idea or any questions about the vibe coding course? Just let me know. Yeah. Hi,
Does does security cost money?
does security cost money? Um, Security comes in as something that you build into the app typically. It would cost money if you wanted to get a consultant to like do a security audit for you. But you can make some money with the app and then invest in that. It depends on um, the nature of your app. So I will share with you like a quick horror story because I think it's just a lesson to learn from. So there was an app called the T where it was like it was like Uber meets dating app for women. So women can review dates. So they can identify people who are legit versus like, no, you don't want to go on a date with him. And so it got 1 million users in 30 days. But it collected their IDs, their driver's licenses. And it's pretty clear it was vibe coded. It's in court right now, so there's that's an assumption, not proven. And it revealed like 300,000 women's driver's licenses publicly on the internet, and someone grabbed it and put it on the dark web. So it was an app built to help people be safe in dating. And the result was a huge security breach. And now, like, everyone, it's in the news everywhere. It happened over the summer. And so, like, if you're deal like decide I'm not even collecting logins at this point. I am not worried about my security. I will before I like try to scale it, I will put the admin pieces behind like a wall so like there's privacy for those, but right now it doesn't even matter because right now it's just word of mouth, right? If it started taking off, I could instantly, right, in an hour put up these barriers. So you have to decide for your app and your functionality how much security is necessary. If you are dealing with sensitive information like women's driver's licenses in a dating app that's based on security and safety, you probably need to have a security consultant on staff. The security consultants I know charge about $300 an hour, right? So, like, it's going to depend on what your needs are. Like, and we're also going to start doing audits and things like that to help vibe coders, get us in a second set of eyes on things. Like, I'm thinking around $500, like to tell you what might need to be done. I have to do some market research on this, right? That's just like a ballpark figure so you can like budget, right? But there's going to be ways that you can get like a consultant to take a quick look at your app and like give you a breakdown. And you can ask your AI to do that too. So in the beginning phases when you're building, you're using the AI for this. You might have to Google and get like, or even use a different AI. Like that's what our developers use, because our developers use AI too. But they're using a different AI to like test it and analyze it and be like, okay, is this secure? Is it following secure best practices? Is it following this template, right? Like you can ask AI to check those things for you, but you just have to know to ask the question, right? And what to ask. And that's what the vibe coding course is all about, is to help give you that vocabulary of how to approach it and how to ask those questions. And any of our tech innovators, we can probably also ask Coach Kyler what he would put in to his vibe coding framework, because we had a little exercise where um, we did like a security bug hunt. It was super fun. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to learn this stuff, but the vibe coder course is and community is just designed to like give you that knowledge so that you don't do something like the T did and reveal private and sensitive information online. But security doesn't necessarily cost more. It's it's an attention to how you build and asking the right questions. And if you need to get expertise to ask those questions or implement the solutions, that's when it takes money.
Okay.
A little bit earlier, when we were talking about my idea of having like some money to invest and making sure that you get a
Yeah.
return at equal to or
Mhm.
greater than 5%, you mentioned that starting out, really all I need is the money and a list of stocks that fall into that category. You were saying I could PDF it, so what are you saying? I could just write that down on some paper?
Yeah, you
Okay.
could like make a pretty, it's called a lead magnet. And that
Oh,
would be how you would start. You'd want to have a like just 2 seconds. How do you build a business? Because I built a couple, right? You start off with a way to email people that might be your target audience, preferably daily, could be a weekly newsletter, could be a Facebook group. You need a container
talking
where
about
you
an email. Okay, all right.
yeah. Right.
Okay.
So like, because who's going to become your beta testers? The people that are in alignment with whatever messaging you're coming up with. Like always winning in your investments without a
Okay.
CD. Right? Like you can build a community around that. And so that community can take different forms. It can be on Discord, it can be on Facebook, it can be on LinkedIn, it can be TikTok, Instagram, right? But usually email is huge. It could be text message, but you want a way to get people to start raising their hand, like, yeah, I'm into this, and
Mhm.
then to message them, right? And so that PDF, which is called a lead magnet, can be a way to collect contact information because something of value that's easy for you to create. You can give it away freely, and then you can get people that are inspired by your mission to start raising their hand. And then when your app is ready, guess who you're going to reach out to? Probably not
Mhm.
your first round of beta testing. Probably do friends and family first. Then you can do your list. But you can start. This is, to me, this is the low hanging fruit that a lot of my software clients that I work with miss. I advise everyone I work with to do it, but I've never had someone do it. But it's building your audience before your app is ready. Those two things can happen simultaneously because it takes time for people to like, know, and trust you enough to actually take the action that you suggest in an email. Like, hey, come join my app. It usually takes about 8 to 12 touch points for someone to feel like they like, know, and trust you. So they might not even be willing to try your app until they know you and your mission well enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, great question, Linda. That's awesome. So highly recommended for anyone who's ready to build a mission-driven community, an organization around an app idea. Start with just collecting names, names and emails, and and setting up a system so you can reach them. Yeah, super awesome. Let's see. No worries, Eddie. Good to see you. Where so Pinky, where do we access the app for testing? Here you go. This is my Decide app. Feel free to join it. Love it. Awesome, Tammy. Super great. Awesome, awesome. Suzanne, how about an app that helps vibe coders determine what consultants they may need for safety, security, center if they can do it all on their own? I love it. That may also not could be an app, but it could also just be a web page, right? Like that's the thing is like sometimes you need an app and sometimes you don't. Depends. And you can still create an app around it, right? It could be a special AI link, right? That does the analysis. So that's awesome. Patents and copyrights. Those don't usually charge much. If you need lawyers' fees, those can be a few grand. You can submit on your own, but they're usually billed hourly. So 2 to 5 grand if you want to involve a lawyer in that. It's a couple $100 if you're doing it on your own. I have done it on my own, and then I had to deal with a lawsuit, and I would never do it on my own ever again. But you do what you have to do. I did get the money back for the lawsuit eventually because they realized they were being idiots. I couldn't figure out why they were suing me in the first place. But I had to spend like a few $1,000s. It cost me more to not use the lawyer. Yeah, it cost me more in the short term. I did get the money back for the lawyer fees, but if I just paid a lawyer up front, I probably wouldn't. I don't know. Anyone can sue anyone. I couldn't figure out why they were suing me. Um, because technically I was the one that was in the wrong with what they had done. So anyway, sometimes bullies are like that. They, so yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Who is that? Yeah.
me. I
Yeah, I
said,
think
yeah.
so. Yep, yep.
Yep.
So I do recommend, yeah, and I'm happy to share like the lawyers that I've worked with. I started off with a more expensive lawyer who passed me off to a less expensive lawyer because literally these people are just wasting time. So copyrights are misleading. Yeah. Yeah, no, so there's patents, copyrights, and trademarks. So trademark is the only one you really need at this point. You can copyright anything that you create, just because you created it. Patents are if you have something, some unique technology that you don't want, like, but when you patent something, you're sharing it. So it's also a sharing step. So for instance, like Coca-Cola did not patent their recipe because it would require them to reveal it. And that means everyone can make knockoff Coca-Cola. They can, but it never quite tastes the same because nobody has the exact recipe.
Yeah.
You patent it, you have to reveal it. Yep.
Not even the places that make it know it. They make it in like four different places.
Yep.
So
On
it's like
purpose.
first step, then second step, then third. So no one place knows the whole recipe.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So that's a trade secret. So patents, patents are can happen in software, but it's more about like a process that you're implementing that you don't want anyone else to be able to sell. So patents don't typically come up in business. They can, but like in the businesses that we've talked about today, you wouldn't necessarily worry about patenting, but you would worry about trademarking your name and your brand. That would be something to consider, but you don't need to until you're making money or you have a lot of people using your app every day. Because as soon as you get attention like that, then people might start trying to replicate what you're doing. That's when you need, like, so the trademark, you can submit the trademark, but trademarks are based on use in commerce. And everything we talked about today was to build the user base first before you monetize it. So technically, the trademarking doesn't have to happen until you're monetizing. So it gives you a
Okay.
little wiggle room, right? You don't want to be
Okay.
scooped, right? But even with trademarking, you can just change your brand name. It's not awesome, but I'm on my third brand name because my first one got trademarked when I was having baby number five by somebody else, Joy of Coding. And then I switched to TechJoy and I switched to TechJoy and applied the trademarking like even before I was using it in commerce, like literally as soon as I had the idea. And I trademarked it a year before somebody else even submitted a trademark for TechJoy, but they did. and then they tried to fight me for it. So that was annoying, right? So like, and now I'm on Elevate Tech, and I did more due diligence. Nobody has it right now, so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. But probably in the next couple months, I'll go and trademark it. But yeah, yeah,
Rotten
it's one
people.
saga. So I was really upset initially, and then I realized I was like, hey, like again, mindset, right? The universe is inviting me to think differently about my name. And I realized it was actually an invitation to think bigger. The tech toy was too small. The name and that yeah. And so Elevate Tech. I didn't know what the name was when I realized I needed to think bigger, but eventually Elevate Tech emerged to me as like, oh, this is the name. This is what I'm building. So, anyways, mindset is everything. Mindset is everything. Yeah. Um, yeah, Suzanne, I had the experience contact a lawyer who passed me to another one with a lower commission. We won the settlement. I invested it minus some money for a fancy dinner. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No worries. But yes, there's a reason why, for anyone who's been with me for a while, there's a reason why we've had so many names.
Yeah, I know.
Eh,
The Chinese are kind of famous for stealing names out from under you. If they think it has any kind of business or chance,
yeah.
they'll steal it.
No, this was just an IT company in Texas. But anyways, but there were a student, it was actually, there was marketplace confusion because I had students claiming to be their interns, which is probably how they found me, right? Because the students would go on LinkedIn, they saw TechJoy, it wasn't our logo, but they didn't know, and they just said, hey, I'm working for this company, but they weren't. So there was marketplace confusion there, anyways. But yeah. Yep, exactly. No, elevator tech is probably fine. Elevate, it has an eight in it. It's very distinctive. Same with tech innovators, right? There's an eight in there. So it should be safe. I will be doing the due diligence on the trademarking shortly. But yeah, all these things. Cool. Well, excellent, folks. Any other questions I can answer for you today? I just want to make sure you guys have the links there. So if you're interested in building and joining the vibe coding course cohort, we're doing it live. So you get to ask your questions live. You get to ask questions in the community. You can see here, I just dropped the link in the chat. If you're interested, please consider joining us. If not, no worries. Just reach out when you're ready. But we are starting on Tuesday. So now you've got a chance to get in early, get in with the community, and you can even show up live. Once I record it, I don't know how many times I'll be running this live. It depends. Depends a little bit on how well this goes. If I need to re-record it or if this one will be it. So it could be the only time it's ever taught live. So now would be a great moment to join in. And we'll go from there. Yeah. Because I might just if I re-record it, I might not do it live. I might just do little sound bites. So awesome sauce, folks. Cool. Well, it was wonderful seeing you today. I see so many familiar faces. So, so good. Welcome and thank you for joining. If you know anyone else who'd be interested in launching their seven-figure app idea this spring in 2026, let me know. I'd love to support them. It would be great if you built a page with all the costs you think we might encounter. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, I think I listed them out. It's mostly a few $100 a month for AI credits. That's about where it is. There's a lot of other costs that could be involved, but they're not required right away until you monetize, right? So that's kind of most of the costs before you monetize. A couple $100 a month, right? That would be my thing. Awesome. Yep, sounds good. No worries.
I have
Awesome,
a question.
awesome.
I think
Yeah,
it's a good idea that or a good question that Michelle put out there
yeah.
about monetizing. Is there a way you can put like a chart on that Q&A doc that's
Hmm.
showing like what will come next once you monetize or
Ah, good idea. So yeah,
something with
upfront
notes or something?
build costs
Yeah.
versus and then after monetization costs. Yes, I can add this to this doc. No worries. Totally.
Great.
That's a great
Thank you.
idea. Yep, great question. Yep. Super awesome. Yes, there is a replay, Pinckney. There is absolutely a replay. So good. I love it. It was so good to see everybody. Welcome. Excited to help support you on your journey. I know many of you are in the course already, and I can't wait to help see your app ideas come to life. All right, folks. Awesome. It was so, so good to see you. Awesome. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Bye bye.
Hope to see some of you
Thank
Tuesday.
you.
All right. Bye.